Hello and welcome to Vtuber Talk. I sure hope all of that worked, because if it didn't, well, stuff happens. Yes, indeed, stuff happens. But hello and welcome to Vtuber Talk. I'm your host, Jay, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. For those of you who haven't been here before, Vtuber Talk is designed after classic late-night talk shows. Everything here is live, casual, and the goal is to simply have fun conversations that will entertain people who are already familiar with the guest while still being accessible for new fans. And I am so excited to have my first full show as a VTuber with my guest for this evening, Ava Lamp. Ooh, I just found out something about filters. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to fix that later. That's just great. But hello. Hello, Ava. I'm so happy to have you here today. I'm guessing that most of the folks in chat are already familiar with you, but for anyone who might not be, if you could introduce yourself. Well, honestly, everyone says their stuff. I think that just comes with the territory. It doesn't matter if you're a VTuber or not. If you're a content creator, if you do live production at all, stuff just comes with the territory. That I have a saying, if the audience doesn't know something went wrong, nothing went wrong. And if the audience knows something went wrong, play it off anyways. Well, there we go. There we go. One sec. Oh, I bet I know what happened there. That's why, because I had the Discord source buried in a folder from the charity marathon, which I didn't delete, but hid, so the Discord source was also not active. Yay, scuff, like I said. Take two.
Hey.
Hi, Ava. Hopefully they can hear you now. All right.
Hopefully.
Great. Hopefully.
I'm so glad I suggested that as a tag. I hope I didn't jinx this by suggesting it, but
Nope.
it's very relevant now.
Nope. I think it's still muted. 1 second. Let me see. So that's there.
Oh, Glasses says he can hear.
Okay. Why can't I see it on my source list? That's
It's hiding.
mildly concerning. That's odd. And also that's
Hey,
my
sometimes things work and you don't know why, and it's okay.
Okay, I guess, is she balanced? Because this immediately, I usually make a point to do the audio-visual test, and there was one part of it that I didn't do that I normally do. So, again, this is totally my fault. I'm going to check. I'm going to see if this makes it at least appear for me. Why is it not appearing? That's just different. That's just different. No, you're okay. So I guess just to confirm that all of you out there can indeed hear, and that Ava is at least marginally close to my audio level. Well, gosh, what? I don't even know how it is that nope, muted again. I'm so sorry, Ava. Give me 1 second. Let me... Why is it... You know what? I'm just going to do this the easy way. The easy way is to get rid of that old source entirely and put in a new source and hope that tricks the thing into appearing. Okay. Yes, good. That appears now. If you can talk once more.
Talk, talk, talk. Words, words, words.
Okay, there it goes. Yep. Yeah, that's just OBS being quirky. That I just deleted the same source, recreated the same one. I didn't even make a proper new one because it still exists on other scenes. So we're fine now. But yay, adventures, scuff.
It's
yay,
fine. Everything's fine. And
Well,
maybe this time I'll get to tell chat. I am so glad I suggested the scuff tag for today.
Yes, indeed. And I suppose I should have you redo the intro. I will probably cut all of this in post for the YouTube release, so we at least don't have
The
all of that.
YouTube Good old YouTube. Hi again, everyone. I'm Ava Lamp. I'm an Eldritch Lava Lamp. I guess I brought my chaos here today and made everything very scuffed. But it's okay. We're going to have fun today.
Yes, we are. And like I said, Scuff comes with the territory that whether it's live concerts, if it's conventions, if it's streams, if it's anything, that Scuff happens. There's so many pieces, so many potential points of failure that it's kind of astounding that as many things go right as they do. And that's, I guess, what I would say normally the sign of a professional, and that, well, I'm semi-professional, which means that sometimes I get things right, sometimes I don't.
Imagine being professional. I could never.
Well, Ava, I'm so happy to have you here, and goodness, that we've both been busy, frankly, that I am hot off the heels of my 3rd anniversary charity marathon, also I suppose what would qualify as my VTuber debut. You've been just busy a lot lately. You have several streams going on this week for, well, I guess, actually, I'll let you do that. So what do you have this week?
So, I mean, I'm here today, obviously. And then I also have... Every Friday is Fuck If I Know Friday, because I decided that, like, sometimes on my schedule, I'm like, I don't know what I really want to do. And I hate putting something and then there not being anything. So now Fridays is just Fuck If I Know Friday. So who knows what's going to happen? Not even me. We figure out in the moment.
That everyone does their own version of guerrilla streaming, but I love that you have just branded it to your own version of Fuck If I Know Friday, and that the alliteration works. It's so nice.
Well, what's funny is originally I just had put something on my schedule, like just the word something, because I'm like, I don't know what to put here. And then one of my community members, Red Cinder, was like, Fuck If I Know Friday. And I'm like, oh my God, can I borrow that? And it just became a thing.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if other people end up picking up that, because it's not brand specific. That it's something that's fun and catchy, and that, you know, there's always alliterative F something Friday or M something Monday. Yeah. And that it just works very nicely. So
it really does.
But
I like a good alliteration.
What did you do for last week's Fuck If I Know Friday?
That's a wonderful question. Let me think. Oh, I did signing for my Streamly, so I signed a bunch of prints. I tried to do miniature house building, but I still need to order glue. I need to do that. I'm going to make a note for myself. My glue actually got like super like gloopy in a bad way, and I couldn't use it, but I was trying to make
I was going to say, that's on brand, house. But not in the good way.
Yeah, not in the good way. And then I think we ended up playing Holocure, actually, at the end.
Ooh,
so I kind of bop around on Fridays. But also this week, I'm really excited for Saturday, because me and Bill are going to be doing a whole sex ed topic about feet. It'll be fun.
Now that is on brand if I've ever heard of something being on brand.
Especially for Bill.
Yes. And Bill being someone that has been on this very show before, and let me give him a shout out.
Lavaville.
We do indeed Lavaville. Good old crabby friend.
Yeah.
But you mentioned miniature house building, and that type of... I don't even know if that necessarily falls under the category of crafting or model making at that point. It's a bit of both. What type of glue is necessary for that? Do those sets come with their own specialty type of glue? Or is that something that you have to buy from a hobby store? What is used for that?
It depends on the kit, because some kits come with glue and others don't. I had a bottle of a 3-in-1 glue that you could use for like multiple surfaces, because there's like wood and paper and plastic and like all different types of little things in them. So it's kind of like a glue for almost anything. But my glue is very old, so I need to get more.
I guess you never really think about that, of glue expiring, or just, I suppose, it probably lasts if you have it sealed, but that I'm guessing after opening for a certain amount of time that it's going to either dry out or, like you said, get gloopy in a way that is not good.
Well, I've had the glue bottle for a while because I've made other miniature like houses and projects. So it was over a year old and it was in the bottle, but I'm guessing just like having it open while I'm working on things just kind of finally got to it, you know?
Yes. Also, that's a lot of letters Charlie 00, which I hope is not a bot, hopefully, fingers crossed. No, wait, they even chatted. Thank you so much. Hi, call me Charlie. Well, welcome in, Charlie. Thank you for the follow. Sorry, my brain's a bit all
No,
over
you're
the
fine.
place. Like,
I also
for
was
me,
like, that's
this.
a lot of letters.
But yes, so how long have you been making those types of models, and how did that start for you? Because I guess you hear about lots of different type of model building, and there are other types of models that you make that we'll get to later. But for those types of house models, they aren't really something that I'm familiar with at all. So how did you get into that?
I saw it on TikTok. I stumbled across like miniature TikTok because I love tiny things. Like small things are just really cute to me. So like the miniature ketchup bottles and like stuff like that. So I stumbled across like miniature TikTok, and then I found their like miniature house kits, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cute, I want to do it. And so I got one. And that was just kind of like the gateway down the hole for it, you know.
How many of those types of models have you made so far?
I finished 2 so far. I'm currently working on my 3rd one, and I have 1, 2. Hold on, I can see on my shelf. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 or 5 more kits that I haven't made yet. Because sometimes when I get into like a craft, I'll see something, I'll be like, oh, I want to do this. But miniature house and miniature like building kits, they take a lot more time than you would imagine they would take. Because you have to make each individual thing. Like you're making the furniture, you're making the books, you're making the structure, and it just takes a lot of time.
And what's the scale of this? So just for the entire structure, how tall versus wide is it?
I don't know the exact dimensions, but like
approximation.
The one on my shelf, hold on, let me look at it. I don't know, I'd say it's maybe like, because it's, so one behind me is like 2 stories tall, and that's like maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 10 by 8 or so, like 10 tall by 8 wide, but it's 2 floors. It's not just a single floor. So it's a little bit bigger than like just a room one, you know?
Yeah. So those end up actually being pretty small, and definitely, well, I guess for the other types of models that you make, that they might end up being about to relative scale, now that I think about it?
No, like my Gundams are too big for it. Like my Gundams are like 1/14th and 1/100th scale, and they are much too big for it.
Well, no, but in the sense of that Gundams would probably be about the size or potentially a bit bigger than a 2-story house.
Oh, actually, yeah. I guess you're right then. In my head, I was like, I can't fit them in there. There's no way they're fitting in
not
there.
In the sense, no, these Gundams are not living in this house, but
no.
The scale of them being, well, larger than a house, probably.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? Let's do this first experiment. We've already had some stuff, so let's see if this works or not. Oh, good, it worked. Oh, this is great. That's wonderful. Everything happened like it was supposed to. But here we have some of your Gundams. And
those are some of my Gundams.
You go beyond with your Gundams. You do not settle, Ava, for simply building the Gundams, which already takes a good amount of time. You then bedazzle your Gundams. You make them all shiny. You actually take the time to coordinate the gems with the actual color of the models, that it's not just sort of haphazard, all right, these are now all crazy rainbow, which would be interesting and fun in its own way, but that you do coordinate it, that here we have, you know, the red rhinestones on the red shield, the blue, the white, that, and if, I said this to you when we spoke earlier in the week, if you told me that Swarovski had done a partnership with Gundam, because let's face it, Swarovski does some crazy partnerships, or just
they
some
really
other
do.
gem maker, and that Gundam does, goodness knows, so many partnerships. If you told me that they had paired up and, you know, this was a $2,500 Gundam with Swarovski crystals, I'm sure that there's something that makes Swarovski crystals the crazy expensive. I don't know what it is, but this would look like something that is actually official. And if not, I think they should probably take a cue from you and do that partnership, because someone would buy it. There's people that buy very big, very expensive Gundams. I'm sure there's a market for this.
Well, there is a market for like customizable Gundams, or customized Gundams, but these take like 5 effort to do. I love them a lot, and I actually kind of want to take that one in the center. I want to get another one of that and actually paint it different colors and rhinestone it different colors, like in the future, just to have them side by side. Because I've seen other people do that, like where they do custom paint jobs and then like add other things on top. But so far, I've just made them like match their original color schemes.
I like Avion Battle Dazzled.
Yeah. We joke that like it would end up being like reflective, so like if lasers hit them, it'd be like a shield.
Oh yes, of course, yes, yeah, deflecting.
It'd be like a disco ball. It'd be kind of hilarious.
Yeah. Have you watched much Gundam that has that?
Nope.
Okay, so don't worry, that makes two of us.
I have watched no Gundams. I have not played any Gundam games. I think I actually have a Gundam game, but I have not played it. I literally just like building the models and bedazzling them.
There's nothing wrong with that. I myself have only watched one Gundam series, that being the relatively recent one, Witch from Mercury, which, to my knowledge, none of these three are from. That I've never built a Gundam model myself. I like seeing people make them, though. So it's been fun watching you and a small handful of other VTubers actually do that, because it is such a fine process. And it's something that I don't know if I would necessarily trust myself to do. I'm sure I could. That I do believe in myself enough that if I were to sit down and take the time to do it, that I'm sure I'd be fine. But I'm more confident letting others handle it.
I personally like crafts, so I enjoy doing them. They're pretty easy, though, because you don't need glue or anything. These are all just like snap-together models, which I like.
Where does crafting begin for you? Is that something that you've always been into, even going back to when you were little, or is it something that you picked up later in life?
I've been crafting since I was a little kid, like starting with sewing and things like that, like cross-stitching and all that. Maybe what else did I do? I did crochet as a kid too. But it's just something I've always done, and I always enjoy like trying new things, and it just kind of has evolved into bedazzling Gundams at this point.
How did that happen? So I guess one step at a time. If you hadn't been someone who was really into the Gundam series, how did Gundam model making, I guess, first become something that you considered even before the bedazzling got involved?
So I actually saw someone else who was bedazzling Gundams. Oh. I don't believe it was to the extent I've done it. Like they did like decorative elements of it, but it wasn't like a head to toe thing. They're actually another VTuber. I don't think they've done it in a while, but Ichigo Lemonade, she's a moth.
Oh, I've heard that name.
It was a long time ago. Like it was pretty early on into like my VTubing career, so probably like 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I saw her do one, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! I wonder what it'd be like if you did the whole thing." And I bedazzled other things before, and I do a lot of diamond paintings, which is literally just rhinestoning a picture. So in my head, I was like, "Oh, I could totally do this. This wouldn't be that hard at all. I just use the same exact glue that I use for like that type of stuff. It'll be fine."
Okay,
and it worked out.
So this full concept came to you all at once via somebody else, but that you had already, like you said, done half of this for other crafts. So at that point, it was just a new medium, so to speak.
Pretty much.
And are these three the only ones you've made so far, or are there others?
So on this shelf, there's also a pink Zaku that I still need to bedazzle, and there's a Hello Kitty that's
we do have like that one.
A Hello Kitty Zaku mashup that I also need to finish bedazzling, but I haven't found the right green for it.
Yes.
I'm almost done with a Farzia, I believe is her name. She's pink and she's very pretty. I think I just need to do like an arm and like the base for it, because she came with like a base and all these flowers and stuff. So I need to do those.
Now I do have the picture of this pink one with the hearts on the shoulder and the shield and the Hello Kitty, and you have bedazzled the little bow on the Hello Kitty, which is just, that's such a perfect accent.
Well, I had the color for the bow, but not for the rest of the Zaku part of the Hello Kitty, so I was like, I'm just gonna bedazzle this part for now, and it's fine.
And I know that, I don't know much about Gundam, but I know there was a much older crossover, actually, of Hello Kitty and Gundam.
Oh, really?
Yes, that it's a short... I'll send it to you afterwards, because the way I found out about it, actually, the charity marathon that inspired my own, called Desert Bus for Hope, has some of their folks do something called Late Night Dub Fight, which is one of those shows where they take animation that you see it in, that they have people dub over it in real time. And one of the bits that they did was the Gundam Hello Kitty crossover, and it's considered one of the wildest that they've ever done. So I'll actually send you that, because just the person who was in charge of dubbing Hello Kitty just did this low, monstrous voice, and that Hello Kitty was the harbinger of war. And it was exactly as ridiculous as you would expect, because Hello Kitty in that animation is not in a Zaku outfit. It is just Hello Kitty in their usual cute overalls in space. How are they breathing in space? Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, the lore behind Hello Kitty itself is really weird. Like, Hello Kitty is not a cat, they're a kid or something. It's really weird. It's a time.
I feel like I heard something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know much. I just also know that a core part of Hello Kitty's design is the lack of mouth, which is such a fascinating thing from a character design perspective, but that if you think about it, if they were to put a mouth on Hello Kitty, it instantly becomes just exponentially less cute. The lack of a mouth, despite it meaning that emotion is difficult, is part of its charm and simplicity.
I agree. I feel like a mouth on Hello Kitty would look very cursed, just because I've never seen her with one, and it feels
and
wrong.
certainly at this point in time they can't, because then you're just going to end up, it would be cognitive dissonance at this point to add it. Is Hello Kitty something that you've been into for a while, or did that just sort of come along with Gundam at this?
Oh, I mean, I like Hello Kitty. She's cute. I've had, like, plushies of her and stuff. It's not something I'm, like, super into or anything. I just know random facts.
Yeah, but at least I guess you had more familiarity with Hello Kitty than Gundam.
Oh, yeah, I know more about Hello Kitty than Gundam. The only reason I even know the Gundam's names is because, like, I built them and my chat's like, what Gundam is this? And I was like, well, let me go look at the box.
Says it, like, on the box of, okay, this is Zaku, and that I have heard the Gundam name Zaku, and from what I understand, that's one of the more, I don't want to say
it's
generic
a common
models.
one.
Yeah, that is.
Well, okay, the pink one is not a generic one because it is the, what is it? It's like the Idol Love something or other version.
Oh, yes.
So it's not usually pink.
yeah. And then you have that, I forget, what is it? I'm trying to remember the Gundam Idol series, Macross. That I
have no clue what that is.
Basically, it is Gundam meets idols, and that they are saving the universe through mechs and song, and it's very nice.
Actually, does sound pretty nice. I do love some idol anime. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you have any favorites in the genre?
Show by Rock was one I liked a lot. It also, I think it was by Sanrio actually, which is who Hello Kitty's by. Because it had the same style. I'm like actually pretty sure Show by Rock was by Sanrio. But I like that one a lot.
Now I'm just Googling.
And then Love Live. I mean, who doesn't like Love Live?
They are indeed based on Sanrio characters.
Ha! I was right. Okay.
Yeah, because I haven't seen that one. I have a couple friends that I know are really into it. I do know Love Live. That I was there for the sort of the big Love Live takeover, and that I very much point to Love Live as the one that broke through and established idol anime and gave it a true foothold in the West. That it's not the first. There have been plenty beforehand, but that it was always very much a niche and and one that hadn't really actually resonated in the West for whatever reason. And I don't really know what to point to in Love Live that made the difference, but something did, because after Love Live, it felt like here in the US and North America that idol understanding, idol anime started to just really take off.
I don't know what it was exactly, but definitely it changed like the anime scene, because after that there's so many idol animes.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it did something.
And I know for me that I was in college when it aired, and that I was in my senior year when season 2 aired. And that meant that it was particularly emotionally resonant for me because I was involved in various music organizations throughout college. So without getting into too deep of spoilers, essentially, for those who aren't familiar in chat, the second season of Love Live deals a lot with the high school seniors and them preparing to graduate in the normal way, not in the VTuber sense.
I mean, they did graduate from like their idol group too, because they were like a high school idol group. Yes. So there was a graduation, technically. Fun fact, VTuber graduations come from idol culture graduations.
Yes. Yeah, that a lot of VTubing early culture took its cues from the idol scene, and part of that is because a lot of the VTuber agencies that helped popularize VTubing take their cues from idol agencies.
Which I get, but at the same time, there's some things I do not agree with about like idol culture.
Yeah, that in a lot of ways that it's entirely logical how we wound up where we wound up. But
yeah,
at the
it makes
same
sense.
Time, there is a lot of, I don't know if baggage is the correct term here, but that different elements of things that were brought over from idol culture, while logical enough in their overlap with VTubing, are not necessarily things that VTubing needed to exist, and that then as it got popularized outside of agencies, a lot of people, once again logically, look to the agencies and say, okay, well, this is how things should be, this is what you should do to be successful, this is how things should go. But that one thing I have always advocated for is that if you are not a member of an agency, you shouldn't use the term graduation. And that is because graduation, I feel, is a very final and absolute thing, that when a idol graduates from their agency, be it a, IRL stage idol or someone in a VTuber corporation, that person, at least under that name and that brand, is not coming back. There isn't any chance of it being reversed. But that if you are an independent VTuber, there's always a chance that you might change your mind, circumstances might change, and that I feel using the term graduation paints you into a corner and doesn't give you the option. And I think people should give themselves that option to come back should they want to, and I think hiatus gives them that wiggle room.
I think some people just call it a graduation, even if I think it's because like how the culture is, that they're like, well, I'm not going to be streaming anymore, so I'm going to graduate. I've seen people come back out of graduation.
Yes.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just really interesting. Because like, I don't think personally, like if I ever did stop VTubing, I don't think I would personally like graduate or call it graduation. It would just be like goodbye for now kind of thing. Because I personally don't like something that feels so final. But I mean, everyone has different feelings about it.
Yeah. And like you said, there have been folks that have come back from graduation, and that unfortunately a couple of those folks have had to sort of, I don't want to say deal with the repercussions, that doesn't feel right here, of just that people that come back recognize that reversing something that sounds so final can be a bit awkward, and that naturally very, very extraordinarily few, like anomaly cases, are the ones where someone plans to come back and is playing it up for drama. That 99.9% of the time, when someone uses the term graduation, it is because they genuinely believe that they are done. And that circumstances changed and that they decide to come back. And frankly, I'm glad that they do. That I would much rather someone go over that little slightly awkward bump of, okay, I guess I'm not graduated after all, and be able to continue doing something that they love, than feel that the term locks them out of it. But that I also encourage folks that if they do consider stopping for indefinite amounts of time, to use a term other than graduation, simply so if they do decide to reverse, that they don't have to go through that marginal amount of awkwardness,
Mm-hmm.
But it has been something very interesting to see, and that I think over the past couple years, there's been a lot of recognition of that I do see the term hiatus, indefinite hiatus, goodbye for now, used a lot more frequently than I did 1 or 2 years ago, when basically the term graduation was the only term people used.
I agree. It's more common now. I think it's just because, like, people realize there's other things they can do. They don't just have to be graduated.
Yeah. And that's one of the cool things of just, we're still very much in the wild west of VTubing. I say this pretty often, but even though it feels like VTubing has been around for forever,
it really hasn't. Like,
it has not.
Less than 10 years, I feel like, is pretty accurate to say.
Yeah, that I point to the proper dawn of VTubing as 2019. That yes, technically, if you go as far back as Keys and I in 2016 or so, but it wasn't until 2019 that it became publicly accessible, that the barrier to entry was lowered.
I think that actually COVID is one of the reasons that VTubing blew up as much as it did. Oh,
absolutely.
Because like everyone had more time to stream and watch like stream content, and it's like, oh, what's this brand new shiny thing, you know?
No doubt at all that I do believe that VTubing would have taken off without COVID, but there's no doubt in my mind that COVID catalyzed it, and that it probably led to it being bigger, faster than it would have otherwise, and that, you know, obviously COVID was a very bad thing, and it's something that we continue and will continue to deal with, but I'll take my silver linings where I can get them, and that is very much a silver lining.
I agree.
And goodness knows that I think even for me, and I know many guests that I've had in the past have actually said, yeah, if COVID doesn't happen, that they would not have picked up VTubing. So it's nice to see that many lives were changed in a positive way. Now, so you mentioned Love Live, a couple others, but I also know that other anime that you enjoy is cooking anime.
Yeah, there's quite a few cooking anime that are out right now that I've been enjoying a lot.
Yeah, it didn't even hit me until you mentioned it to me, of just like, wow, I guess cooking anime is sort of a subgenre unto itself now.
Oh, it totally is. Like, I mean, there's like obviously very specialized ones, but like there's this whole just like cooking anime in general. Like, I love it because you get to see all this tasty food. I kind of feel like Studio Ghibli kind of started a bit with like how delicious they made food look. Ooh. And then someone's like, what happens if we just did a whole anime based on food? You know?
I never thought of them necessarily as sort of a pioneer there, but now just, you know, thinking back, think about the eggs in Howl's Moving Castle and like all the food in the big
Spirited Away
scene in Spirited Away. Exactly. Yes. And that, I think in terms of broadcast anime, I think Food Wars winds up being one of the first to really be a breakout hit for something that is focused on food. So have you seen Food Wars, come to think of it?
I have. I've seen a lot of Food Wars.
I remember it. I think I've told this story before, so it's been a long time. I love Food Wars, but I usually really dislike shows with fan service. And that the way I picked up Food Wars was I was just having a stressful couple of weeks. And I was like, okay, I need something to shut my brain off right now. What is the dumbest anime I can think of? And it was right after the second season started. And was like, I'd heard of this one. I know that it's supposed to be crazy on the fan service and food, and just, it sounds so ridiculous. Let's just get this, and I'm probably never going to watch it again, but it's something to just palate cleanse this week. I sit down, I turn on the first episode, and then I blink and suddenly I'm on episode 6. And it was over. It was all over from there. And
I mean, it's a good anime. Like,
it's just really good.
There's a lot of fan service, but there's actually like a story behind it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like fan service. I find nothing wrong with fan service. But like, there's actually a story there too, which I enjoy. And the food looks really good.
Yes.
Like, I want to eat it.
And that was the show that made me realize and be able to, I suppose, articulate where I draw the line for fan service and what I do and don't like about fan service. That I don't like when fan service interrupts a show, and that you have characters that are doing their thing and then, oh, teehee, fan service gag, and now we have to get back on track. And my quintessential...
Like when they shoehorn it in.
And my quintessential example of a show that is constantly derailed by fan service that is otherwise really good is No Game, No Life. Loved the games of that series, but it was just so much unnecessary fan service that seemed to distract everything.
I'm gonna be honest, I've seen No Game, No Life, but I don't actually remember if there being fan service in it. So I'm like...
To be fair, it is... God, it's now like 12 years old. What the heck?
I'm like trying to think about it. Because The anime I was thinking of was, oh shoot, what's it called? It's the zombie one where the bullet goes through her like moving boobs.
High School of the Dead.
Yes, that one I definitely think there's a lot more fan service than there needs to be. Specifically that scene where like the bullet shoots between like her boobs moving, which it's like physics? How? What?
Yeah,
you
no.
Yeah, no. That's a little much even for me.
But what Food Wars does, at least this changes somewhat in season 5. But for the vast majority of the series, all of the fan service is in headcanon. Or not even headcanon, headspace rather. That it happens while people are eating, while people are describing the sensations of eating food, that they are literally using it as a spice in what would otherwise be the blandest part of the show, people chewing.
Oh, I see what you mean. Actually, I never thought about it that way, because it's always like, oh, they're blowing their clothes off. But you don't think about it, you know?
That season 5, one particular character notwithstanding, none of that actually happens in real life. That as soon as they're done having that mental episode, so to speak, that we return to the action at hand, nobody is interacting with each other particularly differently, and that obviously for a cooking show, the description and reaction to the food is something vital. You can't not have that in a cooking show. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it's just people sitting and chewing, and that's kind of awkward too. But even when they introduce a character who don't ask how their magical powers actually makes clothes pop off, that it is silly gag of poof, they're off, oh no, tee-hee, but then they don't, it doesn't drag down the plot, that they recover very quickly, and I'm just, all right, well, that happened, but we're now continuing with the scene, and it doesn't actually go off the rails for more than 5 seconds, really. Whereas others will just really, all right, now we need to take 2 minutes and get back on track.
Did you know there's actually a video game that plays off of Food Wars?
I did not.
Yes. So there's a series called Senran Kagura.
Oh,
and
I do
they
know
have
that
a
series.
spin-off game called I think it's Bon Appetit. I think there may be more to the title, but you are literally, it's like a rhythm music game, and the whole like back of the whole scene is literally like two girls cooking, and then as you're beating the other one, they start losing their clothes.
I am familiar with Senran Kagura, and I'm unsurprised to hear that they have a cooking game. I hadn't been aware of it, but I'm also not shocked.
But it's literally just like Food Wars, because also the person who like eats the food to judge it like goes into like that crazy headspace, and like ridiculousness happens, you know?
Do you have any favorite characters in the series?
I do not know any of the characters' names. I have played so much of that game. I've gone through so many routes of it. I do not remember any of their names. There's a girl who wants to be deep fried shrimp tempura, and she is my favorite because she is so ridiculous. I don't know her name, though.
Who doesn't want to be shrimp tempura?
Like, literally, because, like, the whole, like, plot is, like, they get a secret ninja scroll if they win the cooking competition, and they can, like, have whatever they wish for. And she wants to be deep fried shrimp tempura. That's all she wants in her life, and I love her for it.
Hey, I can respect somebody who knows what they want.
She definitely knows what she wants.
And any favorite characters in Food Wars?
Oh shoot, what's her name? I like the girl who does all the meat stuff.
I
can't think of her name.
I know exactly who you're talking about, but don't worry, I'm blanking on her name too. Haha.
You know who I'm talking about, though. I like her a lot. She's very tsundere, and I like her a lot. Yes.
I literally just Googled Food Wars meets girl.
I love that. But yes, I love her a lot.
Mm-hmm. And
do you have a favorite?
It is tough. That I do like Erina a lot, and like Soma feels like such a generic answer, but he's also just a character of the guy knows what he wants, and that he ends up. I don't normally go for the shonen protagonist. There's only a couple that I really am like, okay, they end up being my favorite character. That basically Soma and Deku from My Hero Academia, that I like both of them a lot. Otherwise, usually end up going for a lot of the side characters. But those two, I'm not even really able to articulate why they work for me, whereas others don't, but they do.
I mean, as long as you enjoy them, that's what matters, right?
Mm-hmm. Zelius in chat mentions another food anime that I know is going on this season that a lot of people have been anticipating, and that is Delicious in Dungeon.
Yes! I love that one so much. I think the new episodes are coming out like every Thursday.
I think so. That I remember.
It's so good.
I found out about that series a bit over a year ago when one of my guests, Dandy Floss, was on the show, and I had asked them, do you have a favorite show, favorite series? And that Delicious in Dungeon was immediately their answer, and they were so excited, and they were telling me that it was going to be getting an adaptation by Studio Trigger, and that it was just this incredible source material. So I've had that in the back of my mind ever since that episode of just, okay, whenever this show comes out, I need to pay attention to it. And sure enough, that it is everything that I've heard about it, and it seems a lot of people are really enjoying it.
Oh, it's so much fun because, like, yes, it's like another like dungeon delving anime, but then they like are cooking the monsters, which is not something you usually see. And then you get to see this like really tasty food, and you have like all these different characters who are like really passionate about the stuff that they do.
Yes.
And it's just really nice. Like, I enjoy it a lot. I also feel like I vibe with the main elf girl. I don't know all their names, but I feel like me and her like are a vibe together, and it's great.
I'm forgetting her name.
I'm terrible with names, so like this is not a surprise that I don't know the names. I'm bad at names. The character expressions are great in it. Yes, I love her.
I think it's Marcio. But
I love the faces she makes.
Oh yes, she has some prime reaction faces, and I know that some of the fun things actually about that, the English voice for Marcial is actually Emily Rudd, who played the live-action Nami in live-action One Piece. So hearing her go from live-action to voice work, but both in an anime adaptation of two very different properties, is really cool. And I'm excited to see what happens with her just overall as an actress. That she apparently was already a big One Piece fan even prior to being cast in that show. So she's already a nerd, she's already in this space, and that she's been able to just sort of parlay one into the other. So I'm very happy for her.
I've never actually seen One Piece.
I had not seen, well, I'd seen bits and pieces of the One Piece anime, watched the live action because I don't have the patience for the anime.
Yeah, there's just so much of the anime. So that's the reason I haven't. It's just, it's so intimidating because there's just so much.
Plus episodes. I would rather watch 112 or 24 episode series than one that is, that many. I know I'm missing out, and I know that it is also one of Ville's favorite shows of all time. So
it is. I told him he has to bribe me to watch it. I'm like, I can be bribed into watching this, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna like it.
Well, fortunately,
it's a lot.
Folks like us now are about to have two options, because there is the live action, but they're also doing a new anime adaptation of One Piece that is going to be done by Wit Studio, and that they're starting from the beginning. And I think it really is for folks like us, because if you're in on the ground floor and start watching weekly at episode 1, it's easy to just keep going, because then it's not a commitment.
You have something.
Yes, that it's not a daunting mountain to climb. And I think that they realized, all right, we are so far into this, that so many people are just understandably intimidated. So let's just restart with production values at what they are today that we didn't have back then. So that'll also appeal to the old fans that want to see those classic scenes that they now know have even more meaning, but done prettier, for lack of a better term.
No, I know what you mean. Plus, they can also cut out some like the extra stuff that's not really, useful, and it's just kind of fluff, because anime always.
Or filler.
They always, filler. They always add stuff like so the manga can catch up, and it's like, please, I do not need this.
Yep.
Naruto is showing me how to make fucking ramen noodles. God.
Yeah. So I think that starts. I forget if it's next season or the season after, but sometime this year. So folks that have wanted to get into One Piece, like you and me at least, have a couple avenues to go with. Now,
it'll be nice to have options.
One of the other cooking animes you mentioned to me that you like is one that I feel is terribly underrated, and that's Restaurant to Another World.
Oh, it's so good. I think there's 2 seasons of it, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
It's so nice because, like, it shows so many different characters and so many different, like, stories, and it's not just, like, one story. You get to learn about all these different characters, and it's, like, each episode is, like, a mini anime, you know?
It's basically a compilation of short stories that happen to occur in the same place.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You every so often will get a couple of characters recurring in the background or see the continuation of a couple stories, but most of it is just simple half episodes, and that they're able to tell these really interesting character pieces with food being a joining thing, because everybody needs to eat, and that they weave just this wonderful world building and character building, and that it doesn't have this vast overarching plot. They're not trying to save the world, and that the main characters, quote unquote, are the ones that have the least to do per episode. And it just so happens that the restaurant owner and one of the employees there, you have them be consistent because it's where they work, but they're never the stars outside of basically episode 1.
You're right. I feel like the food is also kind of a star in its own way, because, like, all the stories tie back into the food that they're consuming, and, like, their favorite food specifically, you know?
Yeah. What are your favorite foods?
You said that and my brain just went blank.
Oh, no.
No, I will say I'm a carby girl. I love, like, breads and pastas a lot. I also like meat a lot. So, like, I don't like vegetables, but I like a lot of, like, carnivore foods, steak, chicken, shrimp, you know. Seafood I like a lot. Even, like, weirder things like squid and octopus. Yeah. Super tasty.
No, I am a big seafood lover. My personal favorite food is, well, I told this to Vil as well. Unironically, my favorite food is crab. Yes.
So what's funny is I've had, like, crab, like, in things. Like, I've had, like, crab mac and cheese or, like, crab and sushi. But I've never actually had, like steamed or boiled crab and, like, had to, like, take it apart with my hands.
Oh, it's so good.
I've never done that.
I've said that I am originally from the state of Maryland, which is known for its crabs, and I am here to absolutely confirm that Maryland blue crabs are indeed superior to every other type of crab, and it is not close. That said, I've never had crab that I didn't think was already delicious, but Maryland blues are on another level. Just simple, steam them, put a little bit of Old Bay just on the shell, even in as you're steaming them. It doesn't need to even be directly on the meat, and that is enough, and it is so good. And yes, you need to learn how to crack them open and whatnot, but if anything, it actually ends up, at least for me, being very convenient, because it means that you're pacing yourself, that you're not just eating it all and then suddenly bloated. It's like, all right, you know, there's that bit of spacing between the bites, and it means that you're able to really just savor the meal, and it's very nice.
And enjoy it. Well, because, like, I've had other things that you have to, like, peel, because, like, I've had, like, shrimp and crawfish especially can take a while.
Yeah.
I haven't done that with lobster either. I've gotten lobster that's, like, you get, like, the tail, but it's already opened, so you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that it's more involved than lobster and shrimp. It's been a while since I've had crawfish, so
it's just crawfish are really tiny, so like some people like sucking the heads. I don't like doing that because the thought of it's gross to me. But
understandable.
You pretty much just eat the tail, but you have to, like, rip it off, and then you also have to, like, take off the shell and the legs, and it's so small that it takes a little while to do, you know.
Yeah, but if you have the chance, I definitely encourage it. Obviously, crab is pretty expensive, so it's something for a special occasion. Usually, you know, if you're on
I want to do
somewhere, but highly, highly encouraged for sure.
I've already talked with Vil that we have to go have like legitimate crabs sometime because I'm like, man, I've literally never had this, and if I have it with anyone, I feel like it has to be you. You know.
Plus, just I'm sure that he'd be able to do any number of silly things of just superimpose his model on something and look terrified.
Just memeing it, but no, see, he'd enjoy it. So
yes.
He would not be terrified. He'd be the exact opposite of terrified.
Good point.
Yeah.
And that for you, cooking and food is something that it really spans a lot of different interests.
Yeah.
That you mentioned that growing up you watched a lot of Food Network, and that you do a lot of cooking yourself, and that your specialty.
I even cooked today.
Oh, what did you make today?
I made a pork tenderloin today.
Ooh, very nice. How do you?
It was really good. I did it with just like I seared it in a pan beforehand with just like some salt and pepper and oil, and then I put it in the oven with like butter on top of it and garlic and Italian herbs and seasonings, and just cooked it for like 20-30 minutes. It's really tasty.
Terrible idea. I should not have done this and asked these questions. I had a small dinner, but now I'm getting hungry. Oh no.
I'm sorry, it's just gonna make you hungrier. But yeah, I had that.
I am a very lazy cook. I am an extraordinarily lazy cook, Ava. That when I cook, really, the extent to it for me, that when I've made pork tenderloin and such before, that I will usually basic seasoning, throw it in an air fryer. That's about it.
Wait, you put a tenderloin in the air fryer?
Yes.
I'm guessing you have to cut it to fit it in there, right? Right? Because they're kind of long.
Yeah, depending on the size. Yeah, that can be cut. But I've come to enjoy preparing like even steaks that it ends up being I don't know if like not necessarily crispier, but just I'm not even knowledgeable enough to really explain how it ends up being better, but just for me that I feel like they come out better from an air fryer.
You like the texture of it?
Yes, the texture. Thank you. But that I'm very simple when it comes to my seasoning, that it's really just, a bit of salt, pepper, or Old Bay, because yes, I am that stereotypical Marylander. Thank you very much.
Hey, Old Bay is good.
It's very good. But that you seem to have the full array for preparation.
Well, okay, usually I'm pretty lazy because like it's just me here, so I don't usually go all out, but I was having a phone like video call dinner date with Vil tonight, so I was like, hey, look, if you were here, you could be eating this with me. Plus now I have a meal for like the rest of the week.
Yes, no, that's something that I do, that when I cook, that I will usually prepare more than is necessary for a single meal. That way I just have stuff ready. Rand here in the chat says, can't have seafood, it kills me, which is sad because I did like shrimp. Yes,
that's unfortunate.
Please do not die. Dying can ruin your whole week.
Maybe a little more than that too.
Potentially. Haven't actually tried it, so I can't speak to it.
Same.
Where does cooking start for you? Is there either a particular memory, or was it somebody teaching you how to cook? At what point did you realize that was something you enjoyed?
It's just something I've done since I was really young. My grandma Lamp was the one who taught me how to cook. So I've been cooking since I was like a really, really little. I've joked about it on stream before, but like I was pretty much raised to be a housewife. So like I learned how to like sew and cook and all that type of stuff from a really young age. Because like I can even do, like I've made full Thanksgiving dinners by myself. I know how to make different candies, like cakes, all types of things. Like for Christmas, I made truffles, like the chocolate truffles for the first time, and I brought them with me when I went to go visit Bill. So I gave them to like him, his roommate, his parents, and I'm just like,
that's one way to ingratiate yourself very, very quickly. That the way to someone's heart is indeed through their stomach.
It totally is, and like they were all like, we like you, and I'm like, oh yeah, baby.
I'm in.
But I mean, cooking is something I enjoy and something I enjoy doing for other people. So like being able to do that type of thing is nice.
You mentioned cooking an entire Thanksgiving dinner. Now, was that just for yourself, or was that for
For my family when I was younger, yeah.
And what was the spread for that meal?
It was everything. It was like turkey, rolls from scratch, some things I don't eat, like the green bean casserole, but there'd also be like stuffing, corn, mashed potatoes, gravy. There's probably some other vegetables in there I'm forgetting about, deviled eggs, desserts, making a pumpkin pie and like cherry pie as well. It's just a lot.
Do you have any special family recipes that you've known how to make, and that you think that this is the best way to make this dish? I feel like everyone has some sort of family recipe for some dish that ends up just being,
I'd say it's a candy dish, actually.
Oh.
So, like, every year at Christmas time, or even sometimes for Thanksgiving time, I also make it. They're these little coconut candies. I don't know why, but my grandma Lamp would call them Christmas teas, and I have no idea why they were called that. They're literally just kind of think similar to an almond joy, like that kind of like coconut surrounded by chocolate.
Yeah.
But homemade. Ooh. And like you could incorporate nuts into them. I usually didn't because I didn't like the crunch. But like they're so good, and they're not good for you at all, but they're so tasty.
Well, candy rarely is.
Yeah, but it's so good and tasty because it's just like butter, sweetened condensed milk, coconut, powdered sugar. Like it's like what?
Now, how blended is the coconut? Because that I like.
It's
a number
shredded
of people
coconut.
Texture of coconut just has never really done it for me. I don't mind the taste if it's something that has coconut flavoring, but
there's still pieces of it because it's shredded coconut.
Yeah,
so you can definitely tell there's coconut in there.
I think also I may have been scarred one Halloween when I was young that I had an almond joy and I didn't read the wrapper. I just saw oh, it's chocolate and has almond. I've had like Hershey's with almonds and such, so it's probably just something like that. So I took a big bite, not expecting the coconut, and I think that may have actually been the first time that I had coconut, so I also just completely started on the wrong foot with it.
See, I love coconut, so I understand people not liking things, but to me it's so wild because it's like, but coconut's so good,
Mm-hmm. Do you have any foods that you do not particularly care for, that it feels like everybody else does?
Many. Okay, it's very weird. I'm a very adventurous eater, but I'm also a very picky eater. Like, I hate raw tomatoes specifically. I'll have cooked tomatoes. I'll have tomato soup. I'll have ketchup. I'll have pasta sauce. But, like, salsa, I don't like the tomatoes in it. So, like, I don't, like, scoop if I have salsa. And then, like, I can't just, like, eat a tomato in a salad. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a big one for me. Or the skin on beans, specifically, I don't like the texture of it.
Okay, so I definitely understand the one for tomatoes, and I feel like that's a relatively common one, that I don't enjoy large sliced tomatoes. Like, I don't want tomato on my burger or sandwich. I'm fine if it's like little cherry tomatoes that I've grown more accustomed to those, but even those for a pretty long time I did not care for. And that it certainly is just, I can completely understand that some do not like that texture, because that is a strangely slimy texture, frankly.
Very much so.
And then, sorry, the other one that you mentioned was...
The skin of beans?
The skin of beans, yes.
I just don't like it. I don't know how to explain it.
I'm trying to think, do they sell, like, beans without the skin? Because there are, I guess when I think of black beans...
All beans have a skin on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some are worse than others, but like it's just not something I like.
Is there a way to get beans without the skin, or?
So the only type of bean or bean product I found that I like is Japanese red bean paste. That's usually in like desserts or mochi. Because I like the flavor of it a lot, and it's really sweet, and it's a paste.
It's a paste, so you don't have the skin.
The skin is like smooshed in, because even with like refried beans, there's usually still like chunks of beans in there, and I'm like, huh. So
don't worry, I the food that I don't care for is one that most people give me legitimately strange looks, and it's one that I have found forms that I enjoy, but for a very, very long time, with one exception, I don't like cheese.
Cheese is so good.
That's the thing, that so many people love cheese, and that
I dislike blue cheese because the thought of it's disgusting to me.
That, for whatever reason, I just, outside of pizza, that I don't know why pizza worked for me, and that my best guess is that for me it is a consistency thing again, that similar to coconut and similar to tomatoes, that gooey cheese like mac and cheese or fondue, things of that nature, do not care for at all. And that on pizza, since the cheese is relatively congealed, that it ends up being more palatable for me. And that over
about like on a chicken parmesan then?
No,
because that's kind of like the same
gooey.
kind of consistency. It's too gooey.
Yeah, just does not work for me. But over the past several years, I've discovered that I have reacquired a taste for block cheese. That, you know, if it's a charcuterie board or something like that.
I love
nature,
charcuterie boards. Yeah.
That I'm able to eat that type of cheese, and it doesn't bother me. So it very much seems to just be a consistency thing. But I am also a very adventurous eater, that I will try anything once if you give me a reasonable assurance that it will not harm me. That I understand that, you know, seafood and meat, if cooked improperly, can harm you. If I have the baseline level of confidence in the person preparing the food, I'll eat anything once. And
I agree with that for the most part, but like I can't handle like a lot of spicy things. So if something's like super spicy, I'll be like, no.
That's fair. That's fair. Because at that point also, spice is such a different type of taste. Because at that point, it is not just the taste itself in a normal sense, but that pain becomes involved.
Yeah. I mean, I like a little bit of spice, don't get me wrong, but like anything that's like spicier than like a jalapeno is just too much for me. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, that I suppose that's a very good stipulation of I am very adventurous, but at the same time, if you offer me a ghost pepper, I will probably respectfully pass. Like,
no,
maybe
thank
as
you.
a bit. Like,
no.
If it was a charity thing of, okay, someone's donating a large amount to charity for me to eat a ghost pepper, maybe I would do it.
I do not think I could be bribed into eating a ghost pepper. I could be bribed into a lot of things. Eating something that spicy, no thank you. I will take a shot of soy sauce before I, like, do that.
Oh. I remember the first time I had soy sauce, I was not aware of just how strong it was, so I applied it as I would a normal sauce. And then I took a bite, and I instantly regretted it.
I mean, I've had it around for so long that I don't even know, like, the first time I tried it, you know?
Yeah, I think the first time I tried it, at least self-applied, that was just, I was at a Chinese restaurant with my family, and, you know, they always had the soy sauce bottles on the table. So I decided to put a bit on the rice, and like I said, I used the amount that I would have normally expected for a normal type of sauce. So I take one bite and I almost gag.
I like to put a lot on mine, so I don't know what to say. Because, like, not drown it, but I do put a lot on. Like, if I have just, like, a bowl of rice, I'll put, like, soy sauce on it and then, like, furikake on it and just have it as a snack sometimes.
No, I had rice with furikake as a snack today, actually.
Ooh, it's always a good snack.
Yeah. And I found a really nice brand of, like, salmon furikake at a
that sounds
local
nice.
grocery store, and it's very, very good.
I just have like a very basic one with, you know, just like a seaweed and sesame seeds on it. Maybe I'll try like a fancier one next time.
Yeah, because it's not like it has chunks of salmon or anything. It's just that it has some sort
like
of
the
salmon
flakes, right?
Yeah, salmon flakes. Yeah, and that memory serves, like, for 5 large packets of the stuff was like $3 or something. That this is not this is not a expensive type of thing. That it costs more than a jar of, you know, just seaweed flakes is going to cost, but it's still a very cheap type of seasoning. That it's not.
Furikake is usually pretty cheap. Yeah. I just meant fancy as in like, oh, it has something like extra in it, you know.
Is there anything that you particularly enjoy that when you're going to treat yourself, whether it be a particular ingredient or if there's a meal or even a restaurant that you like to go to?
That's a great question. I'm sitting here thinking, sometimes I treat myself with cotton candy because it's like my favorite candy. Like if someone asks me what my favorite candy is, I'll just be like cotton candy, and they're like, that's not a correct answer. I'm like, it's candy. How is it not correct?
It's absolutely a candy.
It's like it may not be a candy bar, but like.
Now, do you go for store-bought pre-made cotton candy, or do you have like your own small cotton candy maker?
I do not have a cotton candy maker. I did at one point, but they're such like a pain in the butt to clean. Yeah. That just like, I mean, I will say like fresh cotton candy, like if you could get it at like a theme park or something like that is way better. But like, I'll still eat like normal cotton candy. It makes me happy just the same. Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about it that's just like so playful and nostalgic that I love about it.
Yeah, that's one of those things that just, even now that I know I can get cotton candy from a store pretty easily, but that it's a very special thing. You're right that there's a lot of nostalgia for just theme parks or fairs and things like that. And that and like caramel apples for me are sort of the two quintessential.
I love caramel apples.
Foods, I guess.
Especially when they have like candy and stuff on the outside too.
Yes. That I've never cared for candied apples.
No, I hate those so much.
But that
I don't know.
Caramel.
Have you ever like bitten into one and it's like glass in your mouth because the candy was like done wrong?
Yeah, that it's this shell that doesn't part with the apple very cleanly.
Yeah, and it's just like you bite into it and it's like glass in your mouth. That's literally like the first time I tried a candy apple. That's what happened. And I was like, I hate this. I'm never eating this again. And so it's like, they're not all like that. And I tried another one and the same thing happened. And I'm like, you lied to me. I'm never trusting this again. I don't know how people can like that. Because like, if there's enough of a chance that I'm going to have something like shards of glass in my mouth, no thank you.
That I said that my threshold for trying foods is if I am relatively assured that it will not cause me harm. Well, usually when I say that, I'm thinking of things of, I'm not going to eat something that is clearly poisonous. But yes, there is that also subset of food where they will just have, sharp objects potentially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't really think about it, but like, candy, if it gets to too high of a temperature, pretty much just becomes like a shard of glass. Like, it just what happens once the sugar gets that hot. Because I have made candy, I know that.
Oh, what types of candies have you made?
Well, like I said, I've made like the coconut candies. I've also made truffles recently. Fudge is another one I made for the first time, and it went really well, so I was happy about that.
Oh, I love fudge. I haven't had fudge in a long time.
I love fudge. I made peanut butter fudge for Bill's birthday and mailed it to him. Good. It was my first time making it on my own because my family actually has like a very specific fudge recipe. But I'd never made it myself before. Like I'd seen like my grandma make it and my mom make it, but I'd never done it. And I was like, you know what? Balls to the wall. I'm going to do this.
My turn to try.
And it turned out really well, so I was really happy. I'm like, holy shit, for my first time making fudge, it didn't turn out weird. Because fudge is very, very finicky. And if it's like too humid or too dry out, it can ruin your fudge. And like you have to like mix it a whole bunch until it's not shiny anymore. And if you don't do that, it'll like get these weird crystally chunks in it.
Oh, I was going to ask actually. I do not know the procedure for making fudge. That I imagine it is all right. You blend all the ingredients in a bowl and that you mix it very well and then leave it to set.
No, you cook it. So you pretty much end up putting everything into a pot. So depending on what type of fudge you're making, like I made peanut butter fudge. So I had like peanut butter, I had marshmallow fluff for the texture, a bunch of sugar, and I think some like vanilla and other stuff in there. And then you have to cook it like to a boil. Like it has to get to a certain heat because you get a candy thermometer and I don't remember the exact heat. I think it's like right under hardball stage. It's a candy term. It's just like a hard candy. And then once it gets that hot, you turn it off, and then you just stir it for like 30 minutes.
Now, I'm guessing you were using a blender, or were you stirring it
No.
by hand?
You have to stir it by hand, because if you use a blender, you get too much air in it, and it's bad for it.
Oh, okay.
So I was like hand mixing this fudge for half an hour.
And at some point,
I
I'm
just
guessing
switched
it
between
gets
my arms.
pretty thick, probably. So
Yeah, I mean, it's fudge. Like, but that's the whole point. You're like mixing it as it's cooling down. So you're getting air incorporated into it and cooling it down and making sure like the sugar crystals and everything are like not clumping together. It's a whole thing. Fudge is hard to make. I would not suggest it for someone who hasn't made candy before.
Gosh, yeah, the fudge I know is that's something that I feel like you always get those from very specialty stores, and that it's another one of those things that in memories of like going to the beach with my family and going to a fudge shop and getting stuff there, and that would be like the one time of year that I would get it. That even now, it's almost surprising that it doesn't feel like there's any really, there's no just proper fudge candy bar. That it is not something that has been able to be properly mass-produced, it feels like.
Well, it's one of those things I feel like would be really hard to like mass produce, because you could do it in like small batches, but like a big batch of it is a lot harder to make.
Yeah.
Do
you have a favorite type of fudge yourself?
Peanut butter fudge.
Well, there you go.
I like that, and then I like what's it called, Tiger Bark, which is also a peanut butter like esque fudge, but it has like some chocolate swirled in it.
Yeah, and so it gives it the stripes that makes it the tiger.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you really enjoyed, like I said, also Food Network, and that was something that I watched a fair bit growing up. That for me, it was basically like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Food Network. Those were the three channels I watched. And that we were talking about the original Iron Chef, and that it's been exciting to see it make its way over to America, and that people have come to really enjoy it, but that the original Japanese Iron Chef just hits different.
Well, it really does, because I feel like it was more energetic, and like the chairman was just so amazing. It was great, and I feel like there was more of a challenge,
And that I haven't watched too much of the American versions of Iron Chef, but I remember that in the original version, the challengers most of the time lose. That
because the Iron Chef
like
was
90%
really good
of their stuff. That it was all right. You are privileged enough to challenge this person, and you are not expecting a win. It is not a dishonor to lose to an Iron Chef. It is a stellar achievement, an anomaly if you are able to defeat an Iron Chef, because they are an Iron Chef, and that you would see. It was very, very rare that a contestant would just flop, but that it would be, you would see them make their good thing, and then the Iron Chef would come with theirs, and it was just, oh, there is a difference in skill here.
Yeah. I don't remember if in the like original Iron Chef, if they got to pick who they were fighting against, because I know that was a thing in the American one, but I didn't remember it being in the old one too.
Yeah.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. They get to choose their opponent. They don't get to choose the secret ingredient. And
oh no, never.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, just the chairman. Just for those who haven't seen the original, I encourage you to just go on YouTube and look up like Iron Chef Chairman. That he was just this so just delightfully flamboyant host, so energetic. He would have this monologue of, if memory serves me right, and that he would just tell this story related to whatever the ingredient of the day was, and
he made it sound amazing no matter what it was.
Yes. And the way that he would, announce the start of the challenge, and he would always have a shot of him taking a bite out of, it was usually an apple or something, but if memory serves, like I think he had like a pepper not like a hot pepper, but a bell pepper.
It was like a bell pepper, yeah. And he'd just take a big old bite out of it and be like a big crunch. It was very like dramatic.
Yes.
And you're like, oh my,
it's so
sir.
extra, but just that he sold it, and that it never felt weird, that he had such a good stage presence.
Yeah, it was like he was made for it, He knew how to put on a show. He made it more interesting and more fun.
Yeah, and it makes sense why the hosts in a lot of the American versions are well-known chefs of their own. That I think Alton Brown might have hosted for a time. And
he did.
That's perfectly logical. Alton Brown certainly has stage presence of his own, but that I think there was actually some sort of benefit to the chairman not being a chef, that he just was the host.
I feel like it made him his own person, because it wasn't like, oh, this is Alton Brown, who's been a cook, for years, and I know him from this show and that show. But no, it's like, that's the chairman,
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was his role.
Yeah.
Now I want to go watch some Iron Chef, I'm not going to lie.
Now I'm just thinking, like, and just like teams of the da 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 da. They had great soundtrack. It was just, it was so solid. And yeah, now I'm gonna have to go back and watch an episode or two.
Same.
Are there any other shows, just things that you grew up with that are really nostalgic for you, whether it be
things
Food
I grew
Network
up
or
with?
Not?
It'd be like B-grade horror movies, like the old like black and white ones that were like super campy and ridiculous. I grew up watching those with Grandpa Lamp, and we'd always have a good time with it, which I find really funny, because it's like, wow, I got introduced to horror at a really young age, even though it was like kind of campy and stuff, but there was still some like death and things that happened in those,
Yeah. Any prime examples of these campy black and white horror flicks?
Oh, like, was it Them, the one with the giant ants?
Oh gosh.
That's one that comes to mind, and I don't remember what it's called, but there was this one that like took place in like Antarctica or something, and there was like this frozen vegetable Frankenstein-esque monster. For some reason it was like with broccoli, and I didn't really understand it at the time, and even now talking about it I don't really understand it, but I remember it. It was just very odd, Some of them were very weird.
Broccoli horror?
I don't know how to describe. Hold on, I'm gonna try to Google this. Like, broccoli Frankenstein. I don't know how. This is how I remember it.
Because I've heard of them.
Grade
I'm
horror
just looking
movie.
up to see what year it was. Made in 1954, and that just I've seen little clips of it, and it makes you think, all right, that must have been an interesting one for them to film, because obviously that's way back in the day before you have things like CG. So this must have been just, all right, do they set ants loose on like a diorama on a bunch of mini sets? What do they do with the cameras there? And that, goodness, as a kid, would that make you terrified of ants?
I mean, I'm sure it made some people terrified, because there's a lot of movies with like giant things like ants and spiders and grasshoppers and all sorts of things.
Mm.
They were so campy though, and just so hilarious. Like, looking back on a lot of them, I'm like, what is going on here? Why is this horror? But it's so funny.
That I definitely was not raised on horror. It is not a genre that either of my parents particularly cared for, that I sort of wound up getting dragged into it at least a little bit by friends. That even now, horror is not usually where I go to. That there are certain types of horror that I enjoy, that if it's... You mentioned when we were speaking the other day, Cabin in the Woods, and that's one that I've seen before.
Yes!
I classify it as sort of a genre deconstruction more than a proper horror. I guess Zombieland is a comedy, certainly more than a horror. It has horror
Zombieland
elements,
is fun.
But that I love mysteries. So I always see like these trailers for horror films and I'm like, wow, I'm really curious what happens. But I don't want to see that movie. So I just look it up on Wikipedia instead.
I just enjoy like the like lore and story behind a lot of the horror.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't really enjoy like gore or anything like that. Like I'll watch something that's gory, but it's not like, I enjoy the gore aspect. Like, I could leave the gore out of it, you know?
Yeah, that if gore happens, it happens, and that, for me, that I'm never bothered by it. That's not why I don't want to say avoid horror, just the visceral stress that is generally the appeal for horror, that, you know, some people like that rush, that thrill of being scared, and they enjoy it, and just it doesn't click for me. I've never been one to, you know, like have nightmares or be
I
scared
definitely
of
don't
things
have
after the fact.
nightmares.
That's never been a thing. It's just, all right, I feel this reaction, and I understand that this is the reaction that the film is trying to make me feel. Good for it. I don't like it.
So, like, I don't like jump scares in horror because, like, I do get scared and I do get startled by jump scares, like anything like loud or anything like that. But I just enjoy them. I don't get scared. I think there's only been like one time where I've actually been like seriously like grossed out and like disgusted by like a graphic horror scene. That was in a video game.
Oh.
So like I'm usually pretty good with that type of stuff.
Well, what was the one that got you?
Okay, it's so specific. I believe it was an Outlast, but it was the DLC for it. It was a very graphic scene where the main villain for the DLC was taking a chainsaw down to the guy's crotch, and it was so visceral, and like you were the main character, so you were seeing it happen, and I was like, oh my fucking god, and it was just too much for me. I was like, I have to look away now.
That does seem like
I'm
much.
I'm not even a guy, and it was too much for me. I was like, I've obviously partaken in a lot of horror, and that was the worst for me. And I'm like, I never want to play this again. Like I was freaking because I did it on stream, and my chat was like, ah, and I was like, ah.
I think the one time that visual gore really got me, and that obviously the amount of visual gore that I've seen in horror is relatively limited because, like I said, it's not usually where I go. But the one time that gore got me was not actually horror. It was the manga for Battle Royale.
Oh.
Are you familiar with Battle Royale?
No, I love Battle Royale. Like, I've seen the movie a lot. I haven't seen the manga for it. I'm kind of curious because that is very gory.
Very visceral style. I don't know how to describe it.
Well, I mean, the content for it is very gory as well. That's why I'm like,
something about the way that it was drawn that I feel I would have had a less severe reaction to seeing it in live action than the way it was drawn. Yeah, Rand Hero is vouching for me.
What? If you don't mind me asking, what was the scene? Because like I've seen
it was some of the early stuff of just some of the stuff in the classroom and like a couple of the early deaths in the game that I was not able to make it past the first volume of the manga, and just it was, like I said, graphic in a way that live action doesn't really capture. That it's not
okay.
I don't know if stylized is even the proper term because the drawing is relatively realistic. That this isn't One Piece style. It's not something.
Is it just really over the top?
Yes, it is very over the top, and that they add in all of the extra details and giblets.
Oh no! See, I like Battle Royale because I find the story and concept of it interesting because it kind of gives like Lord of the Flies vibes. Mm-hmm. So I just think like the commentary and story on it are really interesting.
Yeah,
I was never really big on the deaths of it, but I don't think I'd want to like read the manga if it's just like extra gory.
Yeah, I guess I don't even know if I should or should not encourage you to just look up a couple images from it, because obviously I've just said it's very intense, and that you've said that you normally don't care for gore, so I don't think I can actually in good conscience say,
I don't mind
it
gore. So it's not that I dislike gore, it's just like I don't mind it. It's like I've seen a lot of very gory things and I'm like, that's fine. Not really my cup of tea, but just kind of there, you know?
Yeah.
It's not something I specifically go out of my way to look for, so I probably would not go read it. Knowing it's like apparently that bad. Like, no thank you, you know?
but obviously Battle Royale giving rise to, I don't know if it's necessarily the first of its genre, but it's very much one that popularized that genre that is.
It's very much so a cult classic.
Yeah, in that it's been done in various other forms of fiction, everything from Hunger Games and the like, and, just you now have entire video game genres of just battle royales that, part of it being that prior to the last, 10, 15 years or so, that just networks were not developed enough such that they could facilitate those types of games prior, but that, you point to that and you point to Battle Royale, the original source material, and say, yeah, that's basically it. That's how it goes.
It's interesting.
Gosh, it's been a while since I've thought about Battle Royale.
Same. I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, that's so old, but I enjoyed it so much,
Now I actually I will look up the images myself after this because, it wasn't something of, I had nightmares, got visibly sick myself or anything, but just, it was intense. It was like, okay, this is not what I want to be reading a lot in my spare time, but I actually now, I want to go back and look at a couple pages and see if, given just the passage of time, if I react any differently to it, or if it, is my memory, has it augmented, made me feel like, oh man, it hit me that one time and I'm remembering it worse than it was, or is it actually just still over the top?
See, I probably wouldn't go back and look at it. I'd just be like, nope, this is fine.
Yes, I guess that's just my own terrible curiosity.
I mean, hey, sometimes you want to be curious, and that's fine. You can go be as curious as you want. I'll just be over here happily minding my own business.
Understandable, and that very much, you have that duality in your taste because, like you mentioned, you enjoy horror, but also you like cooking, you like things that are comfy and cozy, and that you enjoy both varieties.
I mean, I like my options, and variety is the spice of life. You can't just like just one thing. It seems kind of sad,
Yeah. Any goes to for the comfy genre, though, whether it be in terms of broader media or even games?
I like a lot of cozy things, like Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, a lot of farming sim style games. They're just very nice and cozy and something I enjoy a lot.
Yeah. Any favorites in the farming simulator genre that it's, you have the classics like Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon, and a couple others, but that over the past really 5-7-ish years, that off the backs of those games, that there's just been this whole genre explosion that I remember it became almost a bad thing in Nintendo Direct a while back, where people were like, this is just Farming Simulators Direct, that there's so many of them now.
Well, a lot of them follow the same formula, so I like the ones that kind of go outside of the norm, like a Graveyard Keeper was so much fun, and it was a little bit of a twist on the regular farming simulator style game, because
heard of that one.
Wait, you ever heard of Graveyard Keeper? Okay,
no.
So you are a graveyard keeper. There's more to the story. There's actually a whole story and a whole plot line. There's DLC for it, so it's a whole thing. But the basis of it is you're the graveyard keeper, and so you're managing the graveyard, so you have to deal with the corpses, and you have to do autopsies on them to get the organs out, and you could do different things with the organs. And later on in the game, you can learn how to turn people into zombies and have them go harvest wood and stuff for you.
Well, I guess that's one way to do your worker placement game mechanics.
Yep. I enjoy it a lot. I always made jokes like raising a family.
Oh, that's such a terrible pun.
It's such a good pun. It's the only time I can use that pun. I'm going to use it. But I loved Graveyard Keeper. I literally played the full game. I played all the DLC. Hold on. I'm actually going to go look in Steam and see how many hours I have in that game, because I played it so much. Because, again, I love farming simulator style games. And it was just so different and so nice, because I also really enjoyed the story. I have 78.2 hours of gameplay.
Oh my.
I don't even have all the achievements, but like, and like you can do other things. Like you can do like the fishing and the crafting, and like you also can make food in it. Like it's a whole thing.
Oh wow, I'm
I
actually looking
enjoyed
it
it
up
a
on
lot.
Steam right now. Hashtag not sponsored, but it's 75% off right now. $5 for the base game.
It's a good game. I enjoyed it a lot. It's, you know, farming simulation with a different twist to it. And I mean, it's a little bit darker because it is, you know, graveyard keeper, and you get to deal with corpses. But like, I liked it. I had a lot of fun with it. I'd play it again, to be honest.
I can't say that I've seen anyone play it on stream, so like that would also just be a more unique thing, I guess.
I've definitely played it on stream. I played all of it on stream. It's so much fun though, and there's like multiple DLCs for it, and they're like kind of like jokes on things like Stranger Sins is a joke, is a play on like Stranger Things and Game of Thrones. You know,
Game of Thrones, and then Better Save Soul for Better Call Saul, I assume.
Yeah, so it's fun, you know, it's just a fun kind of silly game, and like I enjoyed it. Like there was an actual story to it, and like so you got isekai there pretty much, and so you're trying to get back to your wife.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not even just that's you know, that is your occupation, but that you are doing this out of necessity.
You got isekai there to be the graveyard keeper. And, like, that is your role. Everyone's like, you're the graveyard keeper. And you're like, okay.
If you say so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Huh. It's a wonderful game, though. I highly recommend it if you like cozy-style games. It doesn't sound cozy, but it's very cozy because it has, like, all those mechanics. It's just a little bit of a darker theming.
Yeah, and
you know?
This is a, no, not a super low-res pixel game, but is, you know, like, sort of 32-bit-ish modern pixel aesthetics, if you will. And
yeah, kind of like Stardew Valley.
Yeah. And that, obviously, you know, any gore here is going to be, I assume, very cartoony, and that
there's not really gore, because, like, you do autopsies, but it's literally just click on the body and you say, like, I'm taking out the brain, I'm taking out the organs, you know?
And any game whose key art has the character rearing back on a donkey with a shovel in their hand, like they're about to ride into battle on their majestic steed.
Mm-hmm.
A game like that has to be some sort of fun.
It is a lot of fun. You also get to manage your graveyard, which is neat. So, like, you can like make little like specific graves and add on like the grave markers and flowers and all types of things, because you have to like get your rating up to get your church rating up to do certain things in the game. There's a whole bunch of mechanics, and I enjoyed it a lot.
It has a very good blurb. Build and manage a medieval graveyard while facing ethical dilemmas and making questionable decisions. Welcome to Graveyard Keeper, the most inaccurate medieval cemetery sim of the year.
Yeah,
probably
that sounds
also
about
the
right.
most accurate medieval cemetery sim of the year.
I mean, I don't know how many zombies they were creating, but like...
Oh, I'm just basing this off of it's probably the only medieval cemetery sim of the year, therefore the most and least accurate at the same time.
I love that for them.
Yeah, I might end up checking that one out. That I don't play as many games as I used to, but I've been meaning to try and play a bit more.
I feel that. I feel like just because like I don't know, I end up like doing so much stuff with other people. It's like, man, playing games, that's gone on the back burner. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm making all this other content. I'm gonna go read some Lovecraft stories. I'm gonna go talk with people. I'm gonna have sex ed. Who has time for video games anymore?
I'm watching streams and scouting around for new guests. So I end up getting a lot of my gaming content secondhand.
I feel that. It's one of the reasons I have my Fuck If I Know Fridays, like I mentioned before. It gives me a chance to still like play games and do things like that, even when like the rest of my week is like full of other things.
Yeah, it ends up just being okay. It sort of carves out time for you to maybe just okay, I know I haven't played a new game in a while, so let's actually make a point to do that here and that you have that flexibility. But also, if you're just feeling like playing some Animal Crossing, just old reliable, you can do that too.
I so badly want to have another Animal Crossing island, but I don't want to start over at the same time. It's the most painful, like, duality, because you can't have more than one.
I know a number of people who have put so much time into their island that they have just bought a used Switch, and that they will buy a second copy of Animal Crossing to be able to make a new island because they do not want to get rid of their first.
This is my second island because my first one was on my first Switch that I accidentally dropped into the tub because I was playing Animal Crossing in the tub to relax.
That's tragic.
It was the worst thing ever, and I cried.
That's the worst. Oh my gosh. Oh, that hurts.
I knew the
my
risk.
Heart, Ava.
I shouldn't have done it, but I did.
Oh.
This was a long time ago, though, so it was like not long after Animal Crossing came out because I was playing it like constantly at that point.
Well, everyone was. That Animal Crossing was there when the world needed it most.
Oh, well, here's the thing. This was actually during COVID because I remember this because I was so distraught because I had so much trouble finding another Switch because they were like, because it was mid-COVID, so like everyone was at home and everyone had been buying up the Switches.
Yep.
So I like had to go buy one secondhand from someone off like Facebook Marketplace or something and like meet them in like some like random place because like I couldn't find one just to have because I'm like, I fucking need to replace this. I need my Animal Crossing fix, you know?
In that, I say it was there when the world needed it most because it was actually supposed to be released in October 2019, but they delayed it a couple of months because they wanted to do a bit more polish, and then it wound up being in March of 2020. And that I remember one of the last things that I did before, like, proper lockdown, but that, you could tell that things were going south, and that it was one of the first times that I had worn a mask out of my house, and that I picked up my pre-ordered Animal Crossing, and that may have actually just been the last time that I went out shopping for a long time.
Wow. I mean, that's very fair, but it's like so surprising that you remember like such a specific detail, you know?
Yeah, well, it was certainly a time, but also just Animal Crossing is what I played a lot during those first couple of months, and that it is how I socialized really during basically March through June of 2020. I don't want to say that I no-lifed Animal Crossing, but that I like life.
I feel like a lot of
Crossing.
People did, because it's like that's what you did. You did Animal Crossing.
But just at that time, that was the closest thing that you could get to being in the same place with people. That I had just every Monday evening that my siblings and I would hop on Animal Crossing for a couple hours, go to everyone's island, catch up and say, all right, what have you updated recently? Who are the villagers that you have now? And just talk and catch up. That for my birthday that year, I just coordinated with as many friends as I could of like, hey, like let's hang out in Animal Crossing for like an hour or two. And that I got to talk with friends that I hadn't spoken with like in a couple of years, but that I had seen them posting online about playing Animal Crossing. So I DM'd them and was like, hey, want to hang out and visit each other's islands? And just did that, hopped on Discord, and that was my social life for those couple of months.
That's so wholesome and cute, though.
It was very nice.
That.
I hope to never have to socialize like that again, but I made the best of the situation, shall we say.
Yeah.
Nah,
I feel like a lot of people did.
Yeah. Do you have any particular memories with Animal Crossing, be it New Horizons or any of the other games?
Other than dropping my Switch in the tub while playing it?
Yes.
I remember, like, I'd gotten, before I dropped my Switch in the tub, I'd gotten, like, so much furniture because I kept going to, like, people would have, like, I don't even remember what they were called. There was, like, a specific name for it. It was, like, this thing people would do, and they'd have, like, they'd open up their island so everyone could come and, like, get the codes for the furniture, pretty much. I forgot how it worked, but, like you pick it up and you put it down, and because you did that, you could buy it. Yes, cataloging. So I at one point started having that for my own island where I'd let people come and catalog everything. And like I had everything like organized in specific places, and I remember doing that, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember that. And obviously the stock market of just, all right, if you got lucky one weekend, had a day where it was, 400, 500, 600, there was like, hey, everybody come over and, leave me a bag of bells on your way out, but that everyone can come and cash out.
Oh, or you'd have like a meteor shower. You're like, oh yes, come Celestials on my island. I'm having a meteor shower. Come get stars,
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute. Man, I want to play Animal Crossing.
Yeah. And just, whether it be like the bug hunting contests or that when different holidays happen, that it was very nice to have. And that I mentioned you and I've mentioned before that VTuber Talk in a lot of ways was inspired by a show called Animal Talking, which it was done by a Hollywood writer named Gary Whitta, and that I actually, when I was getting these overlays, because obviously my previous overlays were very, very simple, but for this one, when the artist came back with the little plants, which are very stereotypical for talk show sets that you see them in real life, and that Animal Talking had them, but that one thing I decided to ask for was a very specific little detail. To your left, Ava, there is a notch missing in one of the leaves.
Yeah.
That was deliberate to resemble the Animal Crossing leaf.
I can see that. That's so cute. That's such like a cute little like
didn't want it
Easter
to be
egg.
quite a one-to-one of recreate the exact shape of the Animal Crossing leaf, but I was like, all right, I have a version of this overlay where the central plant is not there. That during the charity marathon, when I had a lot of guests, that I had the version without that plant. That way there was more space for people to be, but that in all versions of my overlays that the plant on the left is there. So I wanted to make sure it was on the one that was always present, but that I
That's cute.
had thought of, I want there to be an Animal Crossing reference, since it does have a significant hand, albeit indirectly, in VTuber Talk's creation. So that is, there are no other Easter eggs hidden in this overlay. That is the singular one.
It's really cute to have an Easter egg, though. Like, I mean, like, I've put, like, little things, like, in some of my backgrounds, I have, like, my little guy Fubber back there, but I don't have anything like that. That's so cute. I like that.
Oh, I'd forgotten. You actually, so sort of hopping backwards a little bit, that you mentioned all the different things you cook. We didn't actually talk much about the other forms of baking that you've done, and that you sent me.
Oh, yeah.
A picture of, well, let's start with the cake. That there was this just beautiful multi-layered cake, and that you have experienced just, is this homemade icing?
Yeah, everything was homemade. So I made all the cake, I made all the icing, and I decorated myself. I don't remember how many layers this was, because this was done a while ago.
Actually, we can find out, because we also have...
I know I gave you a cut picture, too.
The picture of a cut. So, 1, 2...
Well, I made a rainbow cake, so, like, I had to do the inside rainbow, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think it's, like, 5
Yeah,
layers?
I'm counting 5. Red, orange, yellow, green, and I think that's just purple.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I made the cake, and I made like all the icing, and I stacked it, and I did everything. Like, I took cake decorating classes for a little bit, and I enjoyed it a lot. That's where I learned how to do all that. It was really tasty cake. It was very moist, and it was also very messy, because like it was very rainbow. It took a little while to decorate, because it was my first time doing one like that.
Yeah, and also that you were doing a somewhat complex decoration of that, just being able to do a upward spiral like that and have it be clean, that you need to be very exact with it, and it came out very nice.
Thank you. I enjoyed it a lot. Like, I enjoy making things like food and desserts, so like being able to decorate them was something I wanted to know how to do. Like, it's not like the fanciest cake decorating, but like I could decorate a cake, I can make some flowers, I can make a rainbow, I can do some little things,
Yeah.
Plus, it's a nice random skill you can pull out and just be like, yeah, hand me a piping bag. And people are like, what? And you're just like, hey.
Do you cook cakes often, or only for special occasions?
I mean, I'll bake cakes occasionally. I'm more of like cookies and like smaller things, mostly because like when it's just you, it's hard to eat a whole fucking cake.
Yeah, that's very
You know?
understandable.
So like I'll make like cookies, or like especially I'll get like the like Pillsbury cookie dough, so like you can just have a couple pieces at a time. So like, oh, I'm just gonna make like 3 or 4 cookies, not like 24 cookies, you know?
Mm,
So I can have nice fresh cookies.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm a sucker for good moist cookies. Of just that they have to be just the slightest bit underdone. That I love cookies and brownies. If you take them out of the oven like just a minute or two before they would be like properly done, that I like them being just a little bit gooey.
See, I actually like my brownies to have like that bit of like a crunch to them. Like the edge of brownies are my favorites, just because they have like that crunchy bit, and it's like, ah, yes. But like I love, it's like the Pillsbury sugar cookies, and they have them for like all the holidays. Those are literally my favorites. They're like crack.
Oh, yeah. Just the classic, sort of tube that just slice and put on the baking tray.
Well, like the decorated ones, so like they're like the snowmen or the pumpkins.
Yeah.
Like those ones are the best ones, because like you make them and you can eat like 6 of them, and you're like, where the fuck did the cookies go?
Yeah, it's just like, oh.
Like, give me more. I actually just got some that have Lucky Charms in them, like the marshmallow pieces. I haven't made them yet, but I'm really interested to see how they turn out. I'm like, marshmallows.
Yeah.
I think they'll be fun. I'm making myself hungry again.
And you also made these just gorgeous Rice Krispie treats. And again, with the decorating, that you have these different flowers, the different borders, and you can see all the different types of nozzles that you used for the icing. That the one on the right over here has like the extra squiggles, but then the one on the bottom middle is just the dots, and then you have the grass for the 2 on the bottom left over there. That you had a lot of fun with these.
Yeah, so this was actually from my decorating class. So they were showing us how to do different types of flowers, which is why there's different types of flowers and different techniques. And like, I'm using different nozzles to do different things. So you can see like, hey, look, you can make a sunflower. You can make this other type of flower. And it was just kind of like, you get to try out a bunch of different things. And so like we made Rice Krispies, then we decorated them. I mean, I personally would not eat icing on a Rice Krispie because it's just a lot of sugar.
It definitely is a lot of sugar, yeah.
See, okay, what's funny is I'm not really a big fan of icing, but I really like decorating things. So it's just kind of funny. It's like, wow, if I was actually eating these, I would totally scrape off the icing, but I love how they look.
My father got into cake decorating for a while, and he was able to make some really beautiful ones, some really complex ones, but he realized that the family didn't enjoy eating the icing, that even just cake in general, that we'd eat it eventually, but it wasn't something that would get eaten up. That the thing that we all liked, that has since become a specialty, brownies, but blondies. Have you had blondies?
They're similar to brownies, but they're like vanilla brownies
basically
with like nuts, right?
Cookies, but in a brownie pan.
Okay.
So just, whatever you would do for making your basic homemade chocolate chip cookies, but instead of, scooping them onto a cookie tray and then putting them there, that you just put it in a brownie pan and bake it for the same amount of time that you would for brownies.
Okay. For some reason, I thought they were just like vanilla brownies with nuts in them. Maybe that's just the one I had.
That I suppose there's not really a wrong way to make blondies, I suppose, and that, with vanilla cookies with nuts and such would absolutely work. And if you were to put that in front of me, I would say, yeah, that's a blondie.
I'm not a big fan of blondies, but maybe it's just the ones I had.
I would encourage you that maybe next time that you are planning to just make a basic chocolate chip cookie, just throw in the brownie pan instead.
But see, I would just rather eat the cookie dough.
That's very fair.
Yeah, I love just eating cookie dough. It's so good, man.
Now, do you usually eat like the store-bought like cookie dough from the tub, or is this that you make the homemade cookie dough and eat that.
Okay, so if I'm making cookies, I will 100% eat cookie dough like as I'm making the cookies, even though it's not really good for you because, you know, salmonella and raw flour and all that. I will 100% buy pre-made cookie dough that says like can be eaten raw on it.
Yes.
To specifically eat raw. Like I will just have that as a snack sometimes. Like let me go have like a bite of this because it's not going to make me sick, you know? It's like, it's that rule of thumb. It's like, if I'm making some, I'll take the risk, but I would not make a...
just have, like, a little bit, and that, you know, you always, you know, like, either the whisk or the blender or whatever you're using to mix things, and just have a little bit.
Yeah. I wouldn't, like, make a whole batch to eat, though. Yeah, that's crossing a line.
Yeah, unless you're able to find a particular recipe that, I guess, doesn't use eggs and such, that I know...
Well, like... I think the biggest thing is the flour, because like raw flour can have like stuff in it. So I think if you technically like heat up / cook the flour in the microwave, like it's fine. But you'd have to find a recipe for it, definitely.
No, just raw cookie dough again. That's a memory thing for me, of just it is such a unique taste, and that you know, from making cookies when I was little, that I always remember that, and that, yeah, it's really good. It's been a while.
Yeah, now I want cookie dough. I'm just making myself hungry over and over and over
again.
Making
a list here of, all right, what do we want to eat now?
Yeah, also, pretty much.
Ash Campbell, Calic Gin, and @Vibes, thank you for the follows. Welcome on in. Oh gosh. Oh, now I'm hungry too. Yep.
Sorry.
Well, I guess moving away from food, one sec, I'm actually going to move us back to the main screen.
But you don't want to be hungry anymore?
Well, no, I'm doomed to be hungry now. I have accepted my fate. but that there are other things that I know you are very interested in. Goodness, I have my choice, so where do I want to take us next on this one? Let's go with Disney.
I love Disney.
That one that I know that you're one of, I think, 2 or 3 people that I've seen do Disney tour streams. And I think you're the only one that I've seen do an IRL Disney tour streams. I've seen a couple people do Disney tours in Minecraft and Google Maps. And if memory serves, I feel like you've done one of those before as well. I could be wrong, though.
I've just done ones in actual Disney.
Yeah.
To be fair, I did play a Disneyland game. So I was kind of like, oh, it's kind of like we're going to Disneyland together. But that wasn't the point of the stream, if that makes sense. It was to play the game.
Yeah. Do you remember the first Disney movie you saw?
I would have had to have been really young. I do not. I know the first one that annoyed Mama and Papa Lamp, though.
Because you watched it so much?
Yeah, which is hilarious because I would not count this as a Disney movie that I particularly love or anything. But The Jungle Book, apparently, I wanted just to watch over and over and over again. And I'm like, I didn't even remember watching it that many times, you know?
Well, Rand here in chat apparently just to, sort of mind melded you right there, because as you were saying it, they said the one I remember is Jungle Book. I didn't
Same brain cell moment
until I was an adult. That just I knew about the Jungle Book. I had heard Bare Necessities and such, but just for whatever reason, it was not one that it felt like it wasn't really on TV much compared to others, and that.
It's not a super popular one, I'd say, because I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I can't remember watching it recently for sure.
The one that I watched a ton as a kid, and I remember that it was recorded from being on TV, so it even got to the point where just as I was fast forwarding through the commercials, that I knew which the last commercial was right before it came back to aim
Oh,
for.
that's cute.
That for me, it was Cinderella.
Aw, the first one?
Yes, yeah, just classic Disney Cinderella from, I forget if it was 50s or 60s.
Well, I asked because they have Cinderella, Cinderella 2, and Cinderella 3.
Yeah, no, the original Cinderella was the big one for me. And I love Jacques and Gus, and
yes.
That one still is very, very near and dear to me, and I watched that one into oblivion.
See, my favorite Disney movie is actually Nightmare Before Christmas.
Ooh.
It's my second favorite movie of all time.
Oh, okay. Now, this obviously begs the question: what is your favorite movie of all time?
The Fifth Element.
Ooh, okay.
A nice little space opera.
Yes. That was another one I didn't actually see until a couple years ago, but again, had heard of and finally saw it. What about Fifth Element just resonates with you? What makes it your number one?
It's literally a movie I could watch back to back to back to back and be completely happy with it. I probably saw it at too young of an age because I remember watching this as a kid and I'd asked to watch it back to back. And I loved it. I loved that, like, it had like the action and the adventure. It had crazy characters like Ruby, and I loved it. It was so much fun. Like, even now I still love it. Like, it has a good story. It's very unique. It has a lot of like campy moments. It's just a bunch of things that I enjoy together.
Yeah, and obviously it's a cult classic unto itself, and very, very iconic. I feel like that's one that you could show to a kid at around, I don't know, 8, probably, and be fine, because there's nothing particularly inappropriate about it. That, you know,
there's a lot of sex in it.
There's a lot of innuendos, for sure, but I feel like most of that is just going to go over a younger kid's head.
I don't know.
Maybe
some of those scenes.
Maybe I'm forgetting some of these scenes.
Well, like, there's literally the scene like where they're in like the pod together. There's a scene where Ruby and a airline stewardess are having a time.
I remember
and
that.
her legs go up and down
legs.
with the
okay.
Yep.
Yep. Good.
I'd say more like maybe around like 13, 14, maybe a little more age appropriate.
PG-13. Yep.
That's why I'm like 8.
No,
I mean, I probably saw it around that age.
I was totally blanking on those scenes because they weren't exactly, you know, I guess those aren't the plot
the ones you
scenes,
think of.
The plot scenes, exactly. That they were almost gag scenes there of just, you know.
The one with Ruby definitely was like kind of a cheeky scene and a funny one.
Yeah, that just, you know, I forget, there was some line of the captain talking about, you know, like landing, and that the girl's legs went up and down with the landing gear, basically.
They got to be part of the Mile High Club, you know?
Yeah. But it's a very fun one, just that I think it's aged actually relatively well.
It really has. Like, the effects they used, because they used a lot of practical effects rather than special effects, is why I think it aged so well. Like, they used a lot of like facial prosthetics and costuming rather than like CGI or anything like that. And they used a lot of like props. So like the spaceships are like actual props rather than CGI, which I think ages really poorly for movies.
Yeah. And that's a fun one of just, I was almost surprised that it didn't get, sequels and continuations. That feels like something that they could have tried to spin up into its own Star Wars.
I think it just was one of those things where it's just like on the outskirts. That's why it's like a cult classic.
True.
Like, a lot of people love it and a lot of people know what it is, but it was never like that box office hit, you know?
Good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was a little too sexy for people. I don't know.
Perhaps.
You have to remember, this came out probably late 80s, early 90s?
It has to be 80s or
Hold on.
so.
Not me about to look.
No, don't worry. I'm going to. 97. Wow. Okay, that's actually later.
Oh, that was later than I thought. Wait, if it's 97. Okay, maybe I did see it when I was around 8 then. For some reason, I thought it was older.
Yeah. But just, Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman's performance there is so good.
All of them did a really good job. Like, I don't feel like I would have cast anyone any differently than they were done.
Oh, absolutely. That's something that's always sort of fascinated me, of just casting, and when you see it, just either films that have become classics or things that have become particularly iconic, of just, it makes you wonder, was the casting director like, I know this is perfect. This cannot be done better. These are the people that we want. But then there's also stories of, okay, an actor might have actually been the second or third choice, that they wanted this other big name person, but they were busy with another project, or they couldn't agree on certain terms, and then it falls to them, and then they just run away with the role, and that it becomes the perfect casting.
sometimes it just works out. I'm not sure exactly how the casting worked for that, but like, it was just great.
Yeah. It was actually just glancing over because there's the casting section on the Wikipedia page of just how things go through, and that's always a fun little bit to read through on Wikipedia of compiled usually from different interviews and whatnot, that you can actually find out some of these stories, and not all of them, not always in great detail, but that for most bigger budget movies, that you can find these fun little stories and nuggets of how people wound
I didn't know
up where they
that.
wound up. Yeah. Oh gosh. Now I need to go back and watch. Like this is the best and worst part about VTuber Talk, Ava, because this happens every show to me. It
makes me want to go do
time.
so many different things. Like, I need to go play some Animal Crossing. I need to eat lots of tasty food. I need to go watch Fifth Element. Just a little bit of everything.
Yeah. But hopping back to Disney, so Nightmare Before Christmas, I didn't even know until I played Kingdom Hearts that Nightmare Before Christmas was Disney, because I knew of it.
Oh my god.
It hadn't even clocked for me that, oh yeah, that is Disney.
It is Disney, and I love it so much. I love the story. I love the music. It is another movie that I can just watch back to back, and it makes me really happy.
Yeah, and just talk about another one that holds up. Just the production on that was so well done. The singing is so good. The songs are so catchy. That's an all-timer. And I guess, one of the most controversial questions I will ask tonight, is it a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie?
It's both.
That is the right answer.
I mean, it literally takes place for Halloween and Christmas. So, like, it's both. Technically, it has doors that lead to the other holidays as well.
True.
And there's actually, I haven't read it yet, but there is a book that I have that's on my to read list that is a sequel to it.
I was going to say that's another one that they literally built in the potential for a half dozen sequels, and I'm both surprised and unsurprised that they didn't do it, because that one was a pretty big box office hit, and that it has maintained popularity, but also that style of claymation is so intensive that
stop motion animation just is very time intensive and like money intensive, because you have to have so many parts and pieces. I would love to see a sequel. There, like I said, there's a book which I need to read that is considered a sequel to it, like official sequel. So like I wouldn't mind if they made like a sequel movie to it, as long as it was still in like stop motion animation style, because otherwise it would not fit.
No,
like
you
it would be
do
wrong.
it in CG. You can't do it in traditional animation. I know that there was a Broadway musical version. Obviously, that's an adaptation. That's not trying to be a sequel, so sure, fine. But I agree. You couldn't do it as a sequel in any other medium.
I feel like that goes for a lot of things, because you can't really change the medium of like the original content, because then it doesn't feel right.
It feels like a different world.
Yeah, it's not the same anymore.
Then my favorite song in that one was always just, what's this? What's this? Color everywhere. There's white things in the air.
I love all the songs in it. They're all like little
no
bops, and they're great.
That just top to bottom, incredible soundtrack.
Sometimes I'll just like find myself singing little bits of it, like Sally's song or something, because it's so catchy, you know. Now I also want to go watch that.
Do you recall the first time you ever went to a Disney theme park?
I do. I actually went as an adult. I did not go as a child. I always wanted to go as a child, but I didn't get to go. I enjoyed it a whole bunch, and I loved it. And now I go to Disney like once a week, and I have a lot of fun there. I love the rides. I've been to both Disney World and Disneyland at this point. There are differences between them, and there's things I like about both and things I dislike about both.
Oh, what are?
Yeah.
I'm curious. So, I know a lot of the general differences that they aren't just copy-pasted versions of each other. What are the elements that you feel each does particularly well? That, you know, even if I'm trying to go with the positive spin on this. What do they each do really well?
Well, I know for Disneyland, which is the one that's in California, that one, the rides have more scenes in them. So, like Pirates of the Caribbean and Splash Mountain, when it was still open, there were additional scenes that are not in the Disney World version. I don't know about at other parks because I've only been to these two. But that's a big difference, is like the amount of scenes. Like, yeah, some of them will be like the same scenes or similar scenes, but there's some that just aren't in the Disney World one, which I find weird, but I guess because they wanted to make a smaller version of it.
So, do you know which was the first?
Disneyland.
Okay, so, all right, because I wasn't sure, so I was like, maybe the first one has us because that was first, and then they made the second one and added on top of it, but
Nope.
It was the other way around, so, or it could have just been a space thing, potentially.
Disney World has a lot more space than Disneyland, which is why Disney World has 4 theme parks and 2 water parks and a mini golf park, while Disneyland has 2 theme parks and that's it.
So it's so fascinating of how they took that one ride and then turned it into just one of their tentpole franchises, because I feel like I hadn't heard of Pirates of the Caribbean prior to the movies. That I think I had even been to Disneyland once by the time I've been there, because I've been 3 times in my life. One time when I was in like 4th grade. I think there was one time in 9th grade. Oh no, wait, and then there was 2 times. So I went twice in high school because my high school band got to be in Disney parades and such.
Oh, that's cute.
It was very fun that we got to march down Main Street, and they then have this program because they bring in a lot of middle and high school and college bands for different things, that you then get to go to a recording studio and basically dub over a couple scenes from Fantasia and a couple other of their movies. So
that's so cute.
Bald Mountain is always the big finale that you get to dub over and everything. That was very fun. But
see, I didn't know that far. That's really adorable.
Oh yeah, because they have the parades down Main Street basically, like, I think it's 2 times a day. In that more often than not, there will usually be some visiting band that just you do have to audition for it. That you actually the bands have to record themselves, usually marching around a track or something, playing things, and that obviously Disney has very stringent standards on what they will allow in the parks in terms of music selection, and just that it has to be very quote unquote professional, I suppose. But that it was something that we did the classic band trip of piled in a bus and did overnight drives, and that
nice.
The band only did it once every 2 years because obviously it wasn't a cheap thing. But frankly, the fact that we got to do it every 2 years, I consider just
it's really nice.
That's an anomaly. I recognize that the vast majority of people, like some schools, obviously never get to do it. Some get to do it only once every 4, 5, 6 years. But that, that it was something that was every other year that the band went, and it was always a really special thing.
It's really nice. I do want to say something, because you'd mentioned that you didn't know about Pirates of the Caribbean until you saw the movie.
Yeah.
Did you know there's actually 2 other rides that they've also made movies about?
There's Haunted Mansion, which they made another one recently, and it continues to flop every time that they try.
They made 2 recently.
And the other one...
because they made a Muppets version as well.
Oh, Muppets Haunted Mansion, or...
Yep. They made Muppets Haunted Mansion and then the live-action Haunted Mansion.
And that was like their second... Was it the second
and third
live-action?
Second live-action. Well, the Muppets was also live-action, so I guess technically third, if you want to count that.
That's sort of like half.
The Muppets was just very campy.
Yeah. But that I know the live-action Haunted Mansion did not do well, and if memory serves, the previous live-action one didn't do particularly well either.
I'm not sure, to be honest. Do you know what the other attraction is, though?
What is the other
I know.
One? Is it the first time this attraction has been made into a movie?
I believe so. I think it can be hard to find this movie now because of like who the copyright is with.
Also, I am checking. The first Haunted Mansion actually did not flop. That it made $182 million on a $90 million budget, though budgets don't usually count for marketing and other things, so it wasn't a total hit, but it almost certainly covered its costs. But I'm gonna kick myself because I feel like I know the answer to this.
Let me tell you what it is. Tower of Terror.
Oh, well, they made a new one of that? Because obviously, Tower of Terror
They have a
was
1997 film.
Okay, because I know it was originally based on a Twilight Zone.
So they worked with the Twilight Zone to do the theming for the ride. So that's where like the Twilight Zone plays into it, and it's still a part of it. They did a whole film of it in 1997, and they were in talks in 2023 to do one with Scarlett Johansson, I believe, but I'm not sure where that has like landed, considering how the Haunted Mansion movie went.
That makes sense. That could have informed that. I'm curious. That'd be interesting because there's so little plot and storytelling that at the very least for the Pirates of the Caribbean ride and that Haunted Mansion that they have all these multiple scenes and
well, Tower of Terror has multiple scenes, but it's more so just the basic thing is like it's a Hollywood Tower Hotel. There's a lightning storm and people go
missing in the elevator.
They get stuck there as ghosts.
Yeah, there isn't as much meat on that bone, but I guess at the same time that gives them more creative flexibility to take that and spin a story off of it.
Yeah.
Would be interesting.
I do know it can be hard to find the movie because I believe there was like some copyright issues with it just because of like Twilight Zone, Disney, and then I think because it was made with ABC at the time, so it can be kind of hard to actually find the movie to watch it, which is I don't think it's on Disney Plus or anything like that. It might be now, but I'm not sure. So a lot of people
there's actually
find
note
it
for
forgotten.
On Wikipedia, as of 2024, the film is not available on any streaming service or aired on any television channels for unknown reasons, but may be related to the film's production under a dual studio partnership. MGM, which is now owned by Amazon, is a direct streaming competitor to Disney and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the issue because
probably a tangled rights situation there.
Because Disney Hollywood Studios used to be Disney MGM Studios. And then it changed to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah. Because I remember I always enjoyed MGM Studios, which is what it was at the time. Because I think they changed that somewhere in like the 2010s. That it's
I think it's like in the early 2000s, maybe. I'm not sure actually.
I remember I always enjoyed those. That park was my favorite after Magic Kingdom.
It changed in 2008.
Okay, yeah. So I guess you can't quite say it's recent anymore, but at least in terms of the park's history, that it was MGM Studios for still much longer than it has been Hollywood Studios. I always liked the ones there because that's where they had the Muppets and stuff, and that was an interesting one. They still do. Muppets already had a big presence at the theme park even prior to the Muppets being owned by Disney.
Because like they worked with Jim Henson prior to being owned by them.
Yeah.
So like because they have the Muppet Vision 3D, they have Pizza Rizzo now, and they also have a store that's not currently open.
Yeah, I remember Muppet Vision 3D as a kid. That the first time that I saw that, and like I said, it was like 4th grade or so. That just there's a bit where they have bugs, and that they have these little bits and bumps that will move on the seats. And
you are thinking of a different ride.
Am I?
You're thinking of the one at Animal Kingdom, which is the Bugs Life one.
You're right, I am.
And I hate that one because I hate feeling stabbed in my butt by the bugs.
I have a distinct memory of literally jumping out of my seat when that happened.
Yeah, that was literally the Bugs Life one, though.
Yep, you're right.
Which is actually going to be changing.
Oh. Well, I guess that makes sense because Bugs Life is now an older one and that not as many people are going to recognize it. Do you know what they're changing it to?
feel like it was Zootopia. Is
That would make
because
sense.
they made some announcements, like I think it was Zootopia, and then they're going to be changing Dinosaur to Indiana Jones, like it said Disneyland, and then they're also taking out Dino USA, and they're going to be putting in an Encanto area.
Ooh.
At least that's like what they promoted. They haven't like officially like started tearing anything down or anything.
And that are all three of those in Animal Kingdom?
Yes. So Animal Kingdom would be having a whole land be removed pretty much, because originally when Animal Kingdom opened, it was going to be animals past, present, and mythical. Mm-hmm. So like there's like dragons and stuff in a lot of like the imagery at the beginning, and there's even benches still that have like dragons on them, and there's dinosaurs as well for the past. But they're going to take out all the dinosaur areas. Is pretty much what's going to happen.
Because I can totally see them using Zootopia. That's entirely logical.
Yeah.
Encanto feels odd.
I think it's because of how popular it is, and also putting it there because of Indiana Jones. Because Indiana Jones takes place in a lot of like South American countries. So I feel like that's how they're tying those two into a land together.
Okay, I guess I could see that. Because Indiana Jones being, based in archaeology and history, that I can sort of see the history tie in with animals, and perhaps, you use the snake gag for Indy. Mm-hmm. I guess I would have usually thought...
Well, they have a ride for it already in Disneyland, so Disneyland's ride was originally Dinosaur, and they rethemed it into Indiana Jones, which is what they're going to do here. There'll be some small differences because the ride paths are very similar, but still slightly different, I believe. But it'll pretty much be the same. But I don't know why Indiana Jones there, other than they already rethemed the other one to Indiana Jones, so it makes the most sense,
Okay, congratulations, Ava. You've been hired as the park creative director for Disney International. You have an unlimited budget. You can make any attraction you want using any Disney IP that you want. What do you make?
I would actually love to make the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay for Haunted Mansion an actual attraction in and of itself, because it is so fucking amazing and I love it so much. I got to witness it when I went to Disneyland, because I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and I love the overlay for it. Disney World does not do overlays on their rides because they don't want to, like, ruin the experience for guests or whatever. Because they're like, people come here for once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and so they don't want to see an overlay. It's like, but I want to see an overlay. So I would have a Nightmare Before Christmas ride, which is just the overlay for Haunted Mansion. So, like, just that would make me happy.
It would be a story-style ride.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The only other thing I would say would have been Tiana, but they're literally making a Tiana ride instead of Splash Mountain, though I don't really like the whole story behind it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I'll see what happens. I'm just excited she's getting her own ride because she is my favorite princess.
Ah, is there something about Princess and the Frog and Tiana that what sets her apart? Because obviously there are many princesses to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Well, specifically it's Tiana because she's worked hard her entire life to get to where she wants to be. And it's just nice to see someone putting in that hard work and then getting rewarded for it in the end. Like getting to, buy that place and fix it up and get her own restaurant.
Yeah. I guess, I didn't dislike Princess and the Frog. I guess I was a bit frustrated that Tiana didn't get more screen time in her human form.
That's pretty much a major complaint of a lot of people, yes.
Yeah, that I also recognize I'm not the first person to say that.
Yeah.
But that's still a very fun film that Friends on the Other Side is such a good song.
It's such a good song. Dr. Facilier is an amazing villain. I love him so much.
Also, in general, I'm just a sucker for Disney villain songs.
Some of them are bangers.
About Disney villain songs that are just better than the hero songs?
Hellfire. God.
Be prepared.
So intense. I don't know why. I feel like the villains, they're like, we have to give them this amazing musical number. And I love it, you know?
Guess also because the villains usually get one, maybe two. but that means that they're going to go all out in the one that they get. They're going to make sure that the one that they write is going to fit them very perfectly, whereas you can usually split things up for heroes and other characters that are going to get more than one, have each song be a different facet, and that you'll usually have like a showstopper number, but that for those other characters that are only going to get one, that their one will almost always be a showstopper, or at least
exactly
they're designed to be. Do you know?
I think it's nice to do, though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you know about the production quirk of Be Prepared?
What do you mean?
Jeremy Irons does not sing all of that song.
Really?
Nope.
I did not know that. Why not?
During recording, somewhere along the line, the popular theory is that it was the line, "You won't get a sniff without me," because that is where the voice shifts over to not Jeremy Irons. That during the recording process, he lost his voice. He threw out his voice. And that they were on a tight production deadline, so they had to have somebody else record the last verse of the song. Unfortunately, they had someone close at hand who apparently was able to do a really good impression, because that if you go back and listen to it, you can hear the difference. It is very subtle, and that I don't know of many people that realize it until they either read about it, hear about it. But they had someone who happened to be working on the production, because they were playing Ed the Hyena in the movie. Jim Cummings sings the last verse of Be Prepared.
Jim Cummings has a great vocal range. I'm just surprised because I did not know that. I love fun facts like that. Would you like a fun fact about a ride thing that they had an issue with on Haunted Mansion? Actually, there's two things I can tell you about Haunted Mansion. The first one is when they were recording for the singing busts that are in the graveyard scene. You know how one is broken and tilted on its side?
Yes, yeah.
So the reason for that, originally it was not supposed to be like that. They were all supposed to be like, regular busts. However, something happened with the recording and it was tilted. And so they didn't have time and they were unable to re-record it. So to account for that, they broke the bust off and have it a very specific angle so it could match the recording.
And here I thought, it's a gag, it's a silly that, this is a haunted mansion. It is in disrepair. Of course one of these things is broken. That makes sense. You would expect that. I would think it was odder if everything was pristine, but that it wasn't designed at all.
Nope. It was an accidental design choice.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said there was one other.
Yes. I don't remember how it got damaged. I feel like I should remember. But in the dining room scene of the Haunted Mansion, there's one there's like a pane of glass between you and the scene so they can do the Pepper's ghost effect with the dancing ghosts and everything.
Yeah.
That is one long piece of glass. It's not separate pieces of glass. So it is damaged. I don't remember exactly how it got damaged, but there's a break in the corner that instead of, because to replace the glass, they would have had to remove the roof off the building and remove the entire pane to put a new one in.
Giant thing.
So instead, they accentuated the cracks in the glass and made it look like a spider web.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That obviously, when you're first producing something like this, that to make it this one contiguous pane, I can understand that, because you were going for a smooth projection. You don't want it to be...
For the Pepper's ghost effect.
Yeah. But that, all right, you've got this thing, and like you said, I was already thinking just, okay, to make a pane of glass that large, it's just going to be very expensive to
yeah, it's very
that.
expensive.
They don't want to do that and have to close down the ride, but that they would actually have to remove the roof of the building.
Because it's such a long scene. Like, they had to, they would have to remove the roof of the building to replace the whole thing. So it got damaged like years and years after the ride was actually built and running. So that was their best solution, is like to make other like kind of like crack like designs on it to make it look like it was like a spider web rather than like an actual crack in it, which because it kind of broke in a way that spider webbed, because you know how glass can kind of break like that. So they just like played along with it. And most of the time people don't even notice it because it's like such a subtle thing, but if you look for it you can tell that it's there.
That's super cool, and that just I appreciate creative solutions in design like that. And for both of those fun facts of, okay, this thing went wrong and we need to fix it, that, like I said, if the audience doesn't know something went wrong, nothing went wrong. And if something goes wrong, play it off anyways.
I love lots of fun facts. I have a ton of Disney fun facts.
Are there, when you go to Disney yourself, is there anything in particular that you always have to stop by? That is there either an attraction or a shop or just a site that, you know, you need to...
Well, I go like every week, like literally. So it would just depend on like which park I'm at, because there's like specific things I like to do at each park. And sometimes there's like specific things I want to eat. But like, so like if I'm in Magic Kingdom, I love riding the People Mover. It's one of the rides I always like doing because it's just a nice chill ride. You get to sit there for like 12 minutes or so and you get to like people watch, and you get to also go inside the rides, and it's fun.
Yeah. Gosh. Now I'm thinking.
What?
Now I'm thinking about the food is there. Well, because like Disney food is this whole other thing of just.
Oh, it is. There's even a whole festival for food and wine.
Oh, I think there's multiple festivals throughout the year.
Well, yeah, but there's one specifically at Epcot which is called Food and Wine. It is literally all about the food and wine. The one that's going on right now, I believe, is it is lovingly called Farts because it's Festival of the Arts.
Oh.
So it become Farts. But that's a nice one where they have a bunch of different artists that come in and sell their work. So then it's all Disney art, and it's pretty much like Disney fan art if you think about it.
Yeah,
like, you know how you go to a convention?
I've seen that before. Because I have a distinct memory of one time that I was at Epcot that there was just a whole bunch of booths around of people just selling different pieces of art. 'Cause most of the time when I visited Disney, it ends up being during the winter months because it's cheaper, there's less folks there, and that it's still Florida, so the weather is going to usually be nice, and if anything, I think that's actually just the best time to go to Disney.
I agree that I really enjoy all of the like the festival stuff, but it is also very packed, I will say.
Oh yeah, that anytime
It's the
like
only
a
bad
special
thing.
event is going on, that you're going to have that big spike, and they usually actually put those in the off months for that reason, to try and make sure that they don't have...
Well, here's the thing. Epcot pretty much has a festival going on year-round now. So
that makes sense. That doesn't surprise me.
So there's like 4 festivals, but it's pretty much like they have one for a couple months. They take like a week or two off to switch, just literally a week or two off between each to switch between them, and then the next one starts.
Sorry,
so it's like...
You mentioned like 4...
oh,
4
yeah.
festivals, like
I see what you
season.
mean. They just last a very long time.
And that makes sense, that you want it to go for a while so you're able to promote it for longer, and that obviously if you are seeing that uptick, that if it's a good thing, you might as well just keep running, always have something special, have that the feature, as it were.
Yeah.
For the Food and Wine Festival, do you recall any particular food or wine that stood out to you?
Oh, there's always really good food. I love all of it so much. Like, there's some booths that'll have, like, similar things, like, or they'll bring something back from, like, previous years. But also they'll, like, mix it up and do new things for, like, the festival season. I want to say, is it at the... Because there's so many different ones, I'm like, is this the one I'm thinking of? Is this the right festival? I know that there's always really good food, and it's, like, I always love like the booth in Mexico because they always have some really good like tacos or different things like that. And then there's a beef Wellington in the booth in America that was really good. I feel like that was at Food and Wine. Yeah. I don't know. It's just fun. You pretty much walk around at Epcot. You you go around the world eating and drinking, and it's just amazing, you know?
Yeah, the layout for Epcot is so beautifully simple. It's just a loop. It's this big circle, and that basically every nation, every area is just sort of a spoke. And that for all of the others, that they have various sprawling designs. At Magic Kingdoms is very logical in the sense that you have the Main Street central area with the castle, and that everything from there is a longer spoke that you have to sort of go down a pretty long walkway, and then that they have almost like pods for each of the worlds, but that
well, Magic Kingdom is it's a wheel and a spoke. Like the castle is the middle of it, and then there's the wheel around it, because you can walk like all the way around, like from Tomorrowland all the way to Adventureland.
Yeah, you do have the sort of the outer ring of it all. I can't recall the layout of Animal Kingdom offhand. MGM,
it's a very awkward, like oval kind of shape.
Yeah. And MGM doesn't have a particular shape to it. It's sort of like almost.
It's a blob.
Yeah, it's like a big blob. What MGM does really well.
Hollywood Studios.
Oh yes, my apologies. Hollywood Studios. Yes. And I know it's something that Disney tries to do across all of their parks, but that I feel Hollywood Studios does particularly well is they try to keep it so that visually there is little to no overlap of the areas, that they will design their pathways so you will either turn a corner or go through a tunnel, and that you will distinctly exit one area and enter another. And that way, if you are looking around your current area, that you are seeing as little as possible from something outside the area to retain the immersion. And that Hollywood Studios does that so well that for their Star Wars area, you go through this little tunnel, and that if you are outside of it, you see like the face, this tan face of the tunnel, and that's the only thing you can see. And then on the other side, boom, you are, I forget what the name of their...
Batu.
Yes, thank you. That you're there, and that you can't really see past the tunnel on the way out. And that there's this one path between areas where there's this distinct corner. And if you turn it, you're suddenly in the other area, but that the way the path goes, and that they even have trees blocking your view until you turn that corner, so you are not breaking the immersion of one area to another.
Yeah, they do that really well, because especially in Hollywood Studios, it is a very small park compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of space between things. They have to be a little bit more creative to like make those barriers.
And that's just the story of Disney and just his approach to his business as a whole, and just the parks of he had a rule even about trash cans.
Oh yeah, I think it's like every 30 feet or so, because it's like no matter what, you want someone to throw it away there rather than like throw it away on the ground. Because I think he ate a hot dog and saw how far it was from like getting a hot dog to like being done with it, something like that, and that's how he determined the 30-foot rule.
Yeah, and just that it was very important to him that the park be as clean as possible, and that obviously they were going to have folks cleaning, but that if people can't find a trash can in their immediate field of vision, they are exponentially more likely to just drop the trash on the ground. And so
which is rude.
It is, but unfortunately, it seems to be human nature. And
unfortunately.
And that he made a point of just, all right, we will add this extra expense. We will buy a ton of trash cans, and that we will space them out so that even the laziest of people will have no excuse to not throw something away, or that, if...
Do you know the whole trash can situation at Epcot by chance?
I think it's that nothing is supposed to look like a trash can.
Nope. So, sorry, we're talking about trash cans, so maybe think about it.
Now I'm curious.
So during the festivals, because there's so many people and like all of the tables and all of the like benches and stuff get taken up, there's a whole culture about eating on trash cans there.
Huh.
Which sounds disgusting, but like they're actually really clean. There'll be even people who have like these little like tablecloths, quote unquote, to put on the trash cans, and some people go all out and like have those and like little plates and stuff,
but then
and just like make a table there.
Use the trash cans.
Well, they stand on the sides of it that aren't the opening, and then someone can still get at the opening.
Oh, okay.
Because the opening's not at the top; it's on the side.
Yeah.
So the top is like fair game, and like I have partaken and put my food on top of a trash can and used it as a table.
That makes sense.
It sounds horrifying and it sounds really weird.
No,
but when you're there in this situation,
and that you're usually going to have some sort of container between the food and the trash can, that it's not like you were just putting your burger down, that it's going to be in a little tray or something along those lines, so it's not in direct contact with the trash can. So
no, that'd be a totally different situation, because like I wouldn't put like my burger down on a raw table either. I'm not raw dogging that.
No, but that makes sense, and that, like you said, there aren't going to be as many tables, so use the flat surfaces that are available to you.
It is literally like there's a whole culture around it. It sounds crazy, but it's a thing. And if you live here or like you go enough, you just accept it as a thing and it's fine.
That makes sense. Is there are there any changes that you are particularly looking forward to, or any that you have seen in the past that you feel like, oh, they had a huge upgrade here?
Yes. Epcot literally just had all of the construction walls removed. They've had walls up for so fucking long. Like literally 2.5, 3 years, I want to say. Because they were redoing the entire middle section. They're still not done. They still have like, I believe like a building and some section left. But like they opened up the whole Moana Journey into Water exhibit kind of walkthrough thing. And the whole middle area is open now, so there's a ton of seating. There's places to charge your phone. There's like a whole light attraction area for at nighttime. Like, it's all open and nice now, because before it was walls, so many walls, and you had to walk like all the way around the park because the whole center was just like walls for construction.
I do remember that because, so like I said, I've only been, not including the 2 times I went with my high school, I've gone 3 times with my family. Once was in 4th grade, once I think was in 7th grade, or maybe it was sometime when I was in middle or high school. I think it was middle school, but then didn't go for a long time after high school until the first week of March 2020. And boy, did we dodge a bullet, because it was 2 weeks after that everything shut down. That we were one of the, it was really couldn't have been timed better. But I do remember that in Epcot they had big walls everywhere, and that you had to take some pretty significant detours.
Yeah, those were there for a long time. Like, they just took them down, like, maybe a month or so ago.
If memory serves, the ride in the giant globe, I remember reading
Spaceship Earth?
Yeah, Spaceship Earth. I remember hearing that they were going to overhaul that somehow, I think.
They've talked about remodeling it, and they've talked about doing things to it, but nothing has happened. I think it was originally part of the plan with, like, everything that was going on with Epcot, with, like, Moana and, like, the whole center area, but I think there were budget cuts, so it just didn't happen.
That makes sense, and just, obviously, that centerpiece is going to be almost certainly one of the most expensive things to change. Just, it's so big, it's so central, it's so bizarrely shaped that even if you aren't touching the outside, and even if you don't actually have to set up major walls because everything is happening on the interior, working on the interior of that structure is going to be a production unto itself in a way.
Well, it was, because imagine taking like a third of your park, pretty much, just like the dead center of it, and being like, okay, this is all cut off now because we're like redoing everything. Like, they closed a shop, like the big shop, because each park has like one really big shop.
Yeah.
They closed it and destroyed it and made a brand new one. Like, it was a big thing.
Yeah, and I guess I'm trying to think if there'd be a way to keep it contained enough so, all right, we don't even necessarily have to have big walls, that if everything is still internal, that they could potentially do it without.
Well, see, but the thing was, they tore down buildings was the thing. They tore down buildings. They used to have all these like sails outside.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking specifically for Spaceship Earth, if they were to.
Oh, okay. I mean,
to pick that one back up.
They have done they've added lights to the outside of it, and they didn't cover anything up for that, I don't believe. So, I mean, that was an easy change. And if they did the inside.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, that if they were to just redo the interior of Spaceship Earth, whether that be updating it or rebranding it to a new attraction entirely, but that.
I'd be sad if they changed the inside and it wasn't like Spaceship Earth anymore. Like, I know it's like a history lesson, but like there's something just so relaxing of just sitting there for like 12 minutes just like going through this in the dark, and it's nice and cozy.
Whatever they would do would still be the same structure of a ride, that it is sitting around, that you are slowly brought around similar to a story ride, and that they would probably update a lot of the things, because a lot of things that are
it definitely needs updates.
It's just, if anything, it is now this very fun exploration of, this is how they envision the future.
See, the thing is, they need to update a lot of the animatronics because they have a lot of issues. Like, there's so many that there's this guy in the Egypt area who's like smashing the papyrus. His arm burst out of his like fake flesh, and like you could see like it busting out, and they just wrapped it with like some fabric, and they're like, this is fine, this is how we're fixing this. And it's like, oh buddy.
I also have to imagine there might be some characterizations of people that might not have aged as gracefully as others. I don't
think there's anything terrible in there.
I don't think there's. Yeah.
Well, there's not any specific figures, is the thing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like any named people.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
My favorite lady in the ride, though, is there's like this disco scientist lady. I say disco because she's got like a really like her outfit is just very like disco era, and it's like, oh yeah, disco scientist, I love you so much. She's my favorite one in the whole ride.
I remember
she can slay.
There's you take a picture of yourself early in the ride, and whenever there's one of those, I always just make the weirdest faces, and that I got a really good one, and that my mom was the one that was in the ride with me, and that she just lost them. I just sort of mouth them just like, I can't do it on this model. But just it was a very silly one that I always enjoy doing those whenever there's those photo ops, that I'm never going to actually try and look good in those, because I know that if I try to look good, it won't look good anyways.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I feel like there's something wrong with the system, because half the time when I write it now, like it takes your picture and like it does the thing on the screen. The issue with it is like you look like Swiss cheese because you're full of holes.
Yes. Okay.
And it's so cursed.
Yes, that actually happened with mine. That it has this sort of just almost like the leaf next to you, this just missing blot on the side.
Yeah, and you're like, that doesn't look right. Am I okay?
And I sort of assumed it was, whatever green screen overlay that they were using, catching something, but it could just be that the system is very old.
The system is very old is what I think it is, because it's like, oh no, that's not good. That's not supposed to be like that, I
don't remember when it was that they changed, what was it, Carousel of Tomorrow?
Carousel of Progress.
Carousel of Progress, yes.
They actually changed it, I think like last year. They added new animatronic, well, not new animatronics, they added new outfits to the very last scene to make it more modern, because they were very outdated. That's the only real change that they've made to it in recent years.
I have a distinct memory of the Carousel of Progress that the big gag in the final scene was that they had an oven where if you set the temperature, it set the temperature. Just the earliest concept in theorizing of a smart home. And that one of the kids was playing a video game and he was calling out his score and setting the temperature without family realizing it higher and higher and higher until the oven finally just bursts.
Yeah, and there's just smoke coming out. It's like, well, I guess we're ordering pizza. They still have that scene, and I love it so much.
Yeah, and that it's funny to think that that's actually something that legitimately could happen today. I guess, at the very least, maybe the folks that invented Siri and other things went on the carousel of progress and realized, okay, if we're going to create this, we need to have an activation phrase of, I'm about to make a bunch of people's things ding potentially of, hey Google, hey Siri, as opposed to just, it hears any number spoken in conversation and sets the thing.
Well, here's the thing. Even when you say its name, sometimes you don't say its name, and it's like, oh, you're talking to me?
Yes.
And you're like,
Here's
no,
anyway.
Please stop. It's like, why are you like this? Oh my God.
Disney really is just unlike any other set of theme parks. That you can go to Universal Studios and still have a great time, but just the way that Disney approached park design remains very unique.
It's very different. There's a different formula and there's a different mindset for Disney compared to other theme parks.
Yeah.
Like, even in the way that the people who work there act, it's different. Like, if you've ever been to like Six Flags,
yeah,
it's like a completely different world. Six Flags, there's really no theming. Nobody really wants to be there. It's a bunch of teenagers who barely have training, and it's like, okay, this is fine.
To be a Disney cast member, that there are rigorous standards and just everything of one of the rules I know is that you always have to point with more than one finger, that you cannot point at something with one finger. That is always, like, two fingers.
It's called the Disney point, because it's considered in some cultures to be rude to point with one finger. You can point with a full hand, or you can point with like two fingers.
But it cannot be just the singular index finger or anything like that.
Nope. I think the only time that they can do, it's not even a point, but like if they have to like say, if they're looking for like one person for like to sit on a ride or something.
Oh yes, and that usually that they will hold up one finger, to the sky, and just sort of like gesture over toward wherever they're referring to. I think. I forget what the protocol is there, but yeah, they have a lot of different pieces and just. Obviously,
very specific rules.
Yes, and that the cast members, especially those who are in the outfits, are always escorted away very quietly, and that they disappear, and they have like this underground network of tunnels to get folks from one place to another. And there's so many facets and features even beneath the surface to it all.
Oh. Beneath the surface. Did you know that Magic Kingdom's actually on the second floor technically, and the first floor of Magic Kingdom is the utilidors and a whole underground tunnel system?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was talking about, of just the tunnels that they use to get everybody around, especially the folks in costumes, but also just to make sure that employees are able to more quickly move from one area to another, or if they have special guests, that way you are.
But that's only at Magic Kingdom. It also smells like garbage.
That.
Do you want to know why?
Why? Because I guess I'm not too. I'm trying to decide if I'm surprised or not at that, because in some ways you think, all right, it's underground, that you have a lot of stuff there, and it's probably not necessarily well ventilated.
There's a whole trash system in Magic Kingdom where they'll dump their garbage into certain areas, and it gets like sucked underground and like sucked through the tunnels. So, like, sometimes they leak, and then there's trash juice.
Oh, no. Trash juice. So
it's not the best spelling. Random fun fact for you about trash juice. You're welcome for that.
Gosh, I hate it.
Hee.
Would you ever want to work at a Disney park, or do you think that would destroy the magic for you?
I feel like it'd be a little bit of like magic destroying because I think it'd be neat to see like the behind the scenes areas and all that, but at the same time having to deal with like the people all the time because I've seen people treat like the people who work there like garbage, and I'm like, that's unfortunate.
An unfortunate reality of being in any service industry.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun, but at the same time, I think it'd be really stressful, you know?
Yeah. That if I were to ever work there, I would only want to work backstage. That I would either
like in an office.
well, that or just like backstage at one of the shows of like being a stage manager or something that I'm not necessarily interacting with the attendees.
That makes sense.
Okay, they are doing a remake of any Disney film, and the original voice cast is unavailable. They have to recast. What role would you want?
I get a role?
Yes. Is there a role that imagine just dreamcasting? Is there ever a role that you would want to play, whether that be in movie or whether it be voiceover or live action, that just you are qualified for whatever this role is. Do you have a Disney dream role?
Just because I have Nightmare for Christmas, I feel like I should say Sally. just because I love it so much, and to be like, yep, that's me. I mean, I'd also love to be a princess. I think that'd be pretty cool. But like, I don't know like a specific princess that I would be, if that makes any sense. Maybe like Belle. I like Belle a lot. Belle knew what she liked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You are given given budget and approval for a live-action adaptation of any animated Disney film, including ones that have had live-action adaptations. If you think that you can do one better, do you have one that you would like to see done?
None of them. I don't want them as live actions.
And that is a very legitimate answer to that question.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know some people like the live actions, but they always feel weird and off to me, and I don't like it, and I'd rather them just make new things.
Are there any that you would like to see either, even just in original medium, either a remake or a sequel to?
A sequel to Nightmare for Christmas, definitely.
I
could also see a sequel to Princess and the Frog, because I want more of the story. Like, I want to know what happens with Lottie,
Yeah, that could be one. And then we will actually get a movie with Tiana as human the whole time. So there we go.
That'd be nice too. Not even like a movie, but like, how like, especially like back in like the early 2000s, there was a lot of like TV shows that happened afterwards. Like Tangled got a TV show afterwards, and like
Aladdin
other things
had a
like
TV
that.
Show.
Yeah. Like if there's a TV show for Tiana, I think I'd enjoy that a lot.
I could see that. Yeah. Gosh, I didn't watch a ton of Disney Channel as a kid. That it was usually, I would tune in if I knew like one of the movies I liked was on, but that I never really watched many of the series. I wasn't a Mickey Mouse Club kid.
MICKEYMOUSE.
That I legitimately think the first time I heard that song was in Kingdom Hearts, and that I did not know what it was until I learned what the Mickey Mouse Club theme song was afterwards, and then went back because I like video game soundtracks and was listening to it and was like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
It still shocks me that Kingdom Hearts was allowed to exist. I don't know.
Kingdom Hearts is just a fever dream, let's be honest.
I would love to have been in those boardrooms where it was pitched, and I want to know, like, somebody probably actually used magic to make them agree to that.
It's just one of those things where you're like, what the fuck happened here? How did this happen?
But just,
I don't know.
Even baseline of, okay, all
and there's so many, too.
Sword-wielding characters and, like, violence and some legitimately dark themes. And that...
I mean, some Disney movies have some dark themes, so I mean...
True. But I guess, Disney was certainly never going to do anything like that themselves. And they're so... protective of their IP usually. That certainly not complaining. I've only ever actually played the first 2 Kingdom Hearts.
I've played none. Well, I tried to play the first one and I didn't beat it, and I have not gone back to it.
They're very long games.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it exists, and its fever dream status and sprawling, confusing storylines, even all of it. Just the fact that it was allowed to exist is so cool, and that like I said, I wonder who they had to convince and how they convinced them. I'd love to see just a mini documentary about that.
That'd be interesting to know, yeah.
But it's also surprised me that there isn't a Sora ride, that there's no Kingdom Hearts ride at Disney.
There's not. The only Kingdom Hearts that has happened is at Disney in Japan, and I believe that they have, I don't know if they still have it, but I know they had a room that was Kingdom Hearts themed, and they also have had like Goofy, Donald, and Sora as like characters in the park there for like very special occasions. But it's only been in Japan.
Yeah. And with how big it is, that obviously it makes sense that they would go to Japan first for that. But I think it's certainly big enough nowadays that it has earned a spot somewhere. That I don't know if it would necessarily be in Hollywood Studios or Magic Kingdom. That I don't know. It feels like something that maybe it's another case of rights being tangled, that they don't, tangled pun not intended there, but that maybe it's just things would get complex with Square Enix, I suppose.
I have no idea. I'm sure it's a whole thing.
Probably, but maybe someday, who knows? Crazier has happened.
Crazier things have happened, that's very true.
I could talk about Disney for a while, sorry.
No, I can talk about Disney for hours. I love Disney.
Case study in so many ways. Do you have any secret tech, as someone who goes so often, that for folks who might be going for their first time, do you have any tips for first-time park goers? Because there's so many pitfalls, I feel.
My favorite thing that I've gotten at Disney for going to Disney is they have these machines that have these little like phone chargers, like the portable batteries. But here's the thing, you spend like, I don't remember, it's like $20-$30. You get it, and then you can charge your phone with it always. And then when it's dead, you go back to the machine and you put it in and it gives you a fresh one. So I go to the parks all the time. So I use mine all the time. Because it's like, oh, I've used up my phone battery. Let me just swap this out for another one. Perfect. Great. For someone who's going for like a very short trip, it may not be like the best thing. But if you go all the time, it's definitely worth it.
And that way you don't need to worry about bring your own external battery, or that if your external battery dies, that, I don't know.
You can have a fresh one. Because you use your phone a lot more at Disney than you would think, because if you're using virtual queues, if you're using the Genie Plus system and you have to book lightning lanes, if you're looking at ride times on the app, your phone battery dies really fast because you're using it so much, Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. That I hadn't even thought of that, because I know that I had brought my own external battery, but it was the type of thing that I was sort of, glancing at the battery and just trying to conserve things, but not having to stress out about that. And especially, like you said, if you are going frequently, that can definitely just be worth it to not have to worry about any hassle.
But I think tech-wise, that's like the one thing that I'd say is important, because your phone will die.
Yeah. And nothing is worse than being at a place like that, and just like you said, that's where they have so much of their information nowadays, and that a lot of the different features that you're not going to have the option to use if you don't have your phone.
Because you need your phone at Disney. Like, you can go to the park and not use a phone, but if you want to use like all the systems and stuff, and like know, is this ride open? Is the wait time decent? Etc. Like, you need a phone.
Yeah, and even if you're using the Magic Band, that'll be sort of a stand-in for certain things, but like you said, information and other things, you're not going to be able to get that. So
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, just there's never exactly a good time to get food, but to try and time your meals not necessarily at noon or one, or just like and anticipate when most people have their lunch and dinner, and either just go a couple hours earlier, a couple hours later, because reducing the amount of time that you are standing in a food line is...
Well, so one of the things they have now is you can like do virtual mobile orders, especially for like quick service places.
Oh,
So you can place your order. Yeah, you can place your order on the phone, and then it'll be like when you get closer to it and like closer to the time, you can be like, okay, prepare my order. I'm here.
Okay, well,
And then
there's the tech right there, folks. Don't stand in line
Yeah.
like a loser like me. Just another reason to make sure that you have your phone.
Yeah, it's another reason you need a phone. Well, it makes it really easy because then I'll be like, okay, your order's ready. Go to window number 2 or whatever. You go up to a window, you show them your phone, like, here's my order number, and they just hand it to you. They're like, here you go. It's just very nice and convenient, you know?
I didn't know they had that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it became a really big thing because of COVID.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that angle.
Yep, so they've just kind of kept it since then because, I mean, they have their regular line still, but it just makes it a lot faster if people are pre-ordering it because then they're like, okay, we know what we need to make, and it gets people in and out faster.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that line churn at parks like that's a big metric of just how often and how quickly they're able to get people through.
Mm-hmm. They got to keep people moving.
Yes. Do you have a favorite ride, or just rather, I will rephrase that, because you mentioned that you really enjoyed Parts of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion. Do you have a favorite thrill ride, of just one that is not a story ride?
I mean, like all the rides have some type of story, because
True.
My favorite ride at Disney World is Flight of Passage, which is not a thrill ride, but I guess it's a story ride because like you're flying through like Pandora.
Yeah.
But it's my favorite because like visually and like all the scents and stuff, and like even the seat feels like you're riding on the back of a banshee. You feel it breathing. Like it's just a whole like immersive experience.
Ooh, I didn't get to go when I went, but I've heard
it's really good.
That one.
If you get motion sickness, do not ride it. You'll probably get sick. But otherwise, it's great. If I had to say, my second favorite ride would probably be more of a thrill ride, but there's also a story to it, is the new Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. It's such a smooth coaster. I love it so much.
I forget, is that where Rock and Roller Coaster used to be?
Nope. That is at Epcot. Rock and Roller Coaster is still a thing. It's currently closed for refurbishment right now, though.
Nice.
But Guardians of the Galaxy is where Ellen's something adventure was. I don't remember what it was. It was the Energy Pavilion in Epcot.
Was that the one that was like the race car?
I have no idea. I never went on it.
That's Test Drive.
That's Test Track, which is still open, though they're going to be retheming it here soon.
Yeah, I was always surprised that one somehow endured, because I was like, there's plenty of things with cars. Heck, they could have just made it a Cars ride.
Well, currently it's like sponsored by, I don't know, Chevrolet or something. Which it's going to be
pay a lot for that.
It's going to still be sponsored, but it's just going to get like a refresh because it's a little old, you know?
Yeah. I remember for my senior year when the band went to Disney, that we decided we wanted to do... have you seen amusement park ride Chess?
No.
Basically...
Oh, wait, are you talking about the people who take pictures with a chessboard?
Yes.
Yes, I've seen people do that. Do they actually play chess, or is it just like a board with all the pieces glued?
Board with all the pieces glued down, because goodness knows you're not going to be able to do that. And that we wanted to do that, and that we did that on Test Track, because we were like, all right, we don't think we could do it on a proper coaster. That, you know, that's just going to be too high wind velocity, and that with all the movement, that it's probably going to, you know, something's going to fly off, someone's going to get hurt, and we don't want to get in trouble, and we don't want to hurt someone. But that, all right, if you're seated in the back seat of that car, that even if there is wind resistance and whatnot, that if a piece flies off, it will hit the back of the car or, the back of the seat. It's not going to hurt anyone. It'll just then fall down at your feet. You're not flying high over something. There's no bystander that's going to have a chess rook land on their head. So we were confident that that we had a couple people in the back playing chess. I think we had 2 others that brought a deck of cards, and one other person was playing Game Boy, but just the entire car, minus the single rider seat, who looked like
they were probably really confused.
I think they were just sort of paying attention to the ride and not us weirdos. But that's my other piece of tech that uses single rider lines. That unless you are...
it depends on the ride, to be honest.
That, at least for me, unless there's a ride you really want to go on with somebody, that...
I'd say it depends on the ride, because single rider is generally faster, yes. However, some rides, people will do the single rider to try and make it go faster for them, which ends up clogging it. So, for example, Rock and Roller Coaster, their single rider line, a lot of people go on it to try and get through faster, so it often ends up just as long, if not longer, than the standby line. However, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, you can literally walk onto the ride in the single riders.
The last day that I was there with my family in 2020, we had been for, it was 3 or 4 days, and we'd been to Magic Kingdom the first day and saw the fireworks and everything. And on the last day, the family was like, we want to go see the fireworks one last time. I was like, I feel like I could skip that. And we were like, okay, cool. You just hang out here and we'll meet back up after the parks close. And I went on Smuggler's Run like 6 times in an hour or something. It was walk off, walk back on. And I always got last choice of the rolls, whatever. It was fun that I got to do all the different things with the different endings. I also got to go to Oga's Cantina. With no reservation, and that was a quote-unquote single rider, because I got in the line and said, single person, yes, I'm fine sitting at the bar, and I was in this long line of families who had probably made reservations weeks in advance, and I got
you have to do it real early.
Yeah, and I just got to walk in, sort of stand at the end of the bar. They had this giant charcuterie board thing, and a bubbling drink that makes your lips go numb. And it was delicious.
I know you're talking about the fuzzy tauntaun.
Yeah. And just sort of standing there, people watching, and enjoying the food, because the charcuterie board was actually just legitimately really good.
I like Oga's a lot. I love DJ Rex in there. He's such a cutie.
Yeah.
He used to be the pilot on Star Tours.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yep. He was the original pilot. He was the original pilot for Star Tours, then they replaced him with C-3PO, so they actually moved to Oga's Cantina so they could be the DJ there.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. And
they wanted to keep him. Yeah, he's really cute.
Yeah, the whole Star Wars area was just... that feels like the next step in theme park world building, literally and figuratively.
Well, I mean, they made our whole, planet. Even the people who work in that area, their name tags are completely different than anywhere else in the park. Yeah. And their cast members there, they actually have a special class that they go to where they get to come up with their own, backstory for their character the Star Wars area.
Do role-playing classes? That's so cool.
Yeah, they do role-playing classes. And they'll also say specific lines there, rising suns and setting moons.
And I will say...
no, bright suns and rising moons. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But the Rise of the Resistance ride, the hype is real on that. That's an experience.
It's really good.
That's what I want to see in my amusement park rides. And I know that it's difficult. I know it's high budget and high production. It's such a well-executed concept.
I agree. I mean, I know it has some technical difficulties because it is so technologically advanced that there are going to be issues, but it's such a fun ride and I enjoy it so much.
Is there any series that you would like to see given that depth of treatment for an attraction?
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I keep walking into this. I should be learning by now, but no.
Other than Nightmare Before Christmas, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's like some things that just deserve more attention. Atlantis. I would love to have like a full land developed and themed to Atlantis, and have like Milo there and Princess Kita, and like I think that'd be really, really cool. Like, it'd be a big throwback, but like Atlantis
so cool.
or
It's
Treasure
never going to
Planet,
happen.
like those would be amazing ones.
Like, because those two, obviously, just total box office flops. Incredible movies. Total flops.
So here's one thing that's way different between like Disney and Universal. Universal is making a brand new park in the Orlando area. It's going to be called Epic Universe. So they keep to their roots. So one of their big roots for Universal Studios is classic monster films. So Frankenstein, The Mummy, Wolfman, like all those things, because that's where they started. That is their backbone. So they used to just have like a monster cafe at Universal Studios, but it got removed and became Minions when they did the Minions area. However, in the new park, they're actually going to have a whole monsters themed area. I believe the ride is going to be Frankenstein themed, and they're going to have like a restaurant there as well. So like they'll continue using their old IPs because they know it's their backbone, even if it's not the most popular thing ever, you know, because they enjoy it and they know people will still enjoy it even if it's not like the brand newest thing, you know?
But also I feel like Frankenstein remains culturally resonant in something that is in sort of popular public consciousness, whereas Treasure Planet and Atlantis, since they didn't make a splash and since they aren't, you know, backbone classics, that I feel like they are sort of
okay, how about
doomed to their obscurity.
This one then. They're going to also, I believe, have a How to Train Your Dragon area in the new park, even though that is now an older IP at this point.
But How to Train Your Dragon had 3 movies and made money hand over fist.
Yeah, but it is, considering their newer IPs, it does feel a bit older. Because, like, they got rid of Shrek. Like, they removed Shrek for Minions.
That surprises me. Shrek was an institution.
I do believe that because they tore down an area that was like Curious George and Fiefel's American Adventure. They tore down that area, and I believe one of the things they're building there is like Shrek's house and like swamp area. But I don't know what all is going to be over there.
I forgot that Fievel existed.
That's like an old callback.
That is an oldie. Gosh. Shrek was its own interesting case study of... It almost feels like Shrek was Minions before Minions in terms of just how it was everywhere.
I mean, there's like 3, 4 Shrek movies. Like, there's a lot. I know for sure 3. I don't remember if there's a 4th. Yeah, there might be like a Christmas special in there somewhere.
I remember that there was a 4th. Because there was like something with Rumpelstiltskin, I think, and that they like sort of like time travel and rewriting almost Christmas story type thing of that if Shrek 1 hadn't happened, if he and Fiona had never met, what would have happened?
That'd be interesting.
That's another part of just, you know, them always having to change their parks that goodness knows they've changed before and they'll continue changing. It's a fun thing. But oh my goodness. Holy cow, we've been at this for 3.5 hours already. Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, huh?
I'm still kind of like reeling and recovering from the 3rd anniversary marathon, that it feels like that was just yesterday, and I still have a couple of rewards that I need to do. I need to start doing like the recordings for all of the custom audios and such, and outreach for that. So if you're here and we're around for the marathon and are like, hey, where's the thingy? I am getting to them. Don't worry. I was able to send out a bunch of the prizes. I do still have some of them to take care of, but they will be taken care of. But
that stuff takes time.
It does. but it's fun. And that, Ava, I'm so happy that you were able to take time out to be here. I have just a couple last questions that I asked all my guests, and the first is, do you have any goals for 2024? We're still really early in the year. So
some of my goals, like I did like a little goal post that a lot of people did like at the beginning of the year. I know for me, like I want to like make content that I want to make. I don't want to like feel like I'm stuck in a box of things that I have to do because it's what it's expected of VTubers. So I'm kind of going outside of like maybe the norm and doing things that I enjoy rather than something that's expected of me. I also would really like to be able to get back to full-time content creation because I was doing that before. So I'm really pushing myself and I'm trying a whole bunch of things. I have a whole bunch of projects I'm doing this year. Like, I'm doing a mini song cover. I'm doing the biggest collab that I've ever done before. It's going to be 50 plus people. I'm currently working on, actually, I finished all my voice recordings for it for a dating sim, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so a couple quick questions on that. One, so dating sim, how is that working? Are you actually like programming and
making
a
full game?
Or?
So I commissioned someone to write a script for me, and then I, made some minor adjustments to it. I am actually working with one of my mods, Red Cinder, who's helping me by doing the coding for it because I tried to learn the coding for it, but I just is not my skill set. He does coding, so he understood it. It's really simple for someone who knows coding because it's very simple. I'm just not good at it. So yeah, it's going to be a full game and it's going to be fully voice acted too. I already recorded all my lines for it.
Oh, that's so cool. Definitely looking forward to seeing that. And you mentioned a 50-person collab, so...
Plus, 50 plus, yeah.
Do you know what the theme or structure of this collab is?
Yes, it is. Have you ever seen the movie 50 First Dates?
Yes.
So it's kind of going to be like that, like, or at least kind of like a play on words from it. So it'll be like 50 first collabs. So I'm going to be doing like 50 like speed dating style collabs, like 3 minutes long each.
Wow. And that, are you holding yourself to the title there of that this has to be people that you have not collabed with before, or is this going to be...
it's just going to be 50 in general. It's just more so that's like a play on... It's like a play on the joke, kind of,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 50 first ones, because I feel like that'd be really hard to do at this point.
Also, frankly, just risky of, all right, 50 folks that you haven't necessarily done stuff with before. But, wow.
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing this, like, people I haven't done stuff with before, but, like, I just don't think that's, like, possible for me to do, like, 50, like, completely blind ones, It may end up going over 50 slightly just because of, like, the nature of how many I'm going to have to get together for it, because I will need extras just to make sure I hit that 50 number.
Yeah, that you don't want to risk of just, something came up with work, or I woke up and I don't
that
have
always
my voice
happens
today, because, yes, that will happen, especially at some
when you have that many.
Do you have a name?
You just did a really big collab. You know how that is.
Trust me, I know those struggles.
But I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a whole production, just like getting everything and all the moving pieces together. My mods are being really amazing and are like super down to help me with it. So I'm excited.
Do you have an estimate on whereabouts that'll end up landing? Is that something like
March 2nd?
Oh, wow. So you had the exact date already set. Fantastic.
It's going to be part of my birthday celebration. So I'm kind of kicking it off as like my birthday.
That makes sense. Very nice.
Because my birthday is on the 4th. So I was like, that's perfect. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Plus, I want to do it on a weekend because, people be busy on the weekdays.
Good call. That I always have my charity marathon on a weekend for that exact reason.
Yeah.
And the last question I ask all my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but different people get different things from VTubing. I've had people say, VTubing lets me get in touch with my inner child, or it lets me beat someone I can't be in real life. Others have had a more, I suppose, clinical approach, and have said things that, I enjoy my model. I don't necessarily have a strong emotional attachment to it, but as a performer, I think I'm able to do so many cool things with the model that I couldn't do as a face cam streamer, and that I still I wouldn't want to create content in any other way, and that those are two very different answers, and that there's a lot in between and even beyond. So for you, Ava, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
Well, I mean, so I don't really play a character. I'm pretty much just myself on stream, which it's just VTubing is just a way that I can express myself and I get to have a lot of fun with it. Plus, who doesn't want to be an anime girl on the internet? Let's be honest. But I just get to have a lot of fun and interact with people and just make people smile, which is something I enjoy doing. And I get to be my own true chaotic cozy self while I do it.
I always ask that question at the end of the show because while I never know exactly how someone will answer, the answers always make sense, and that people have certain types of consistency, I suppose. One of your consistencies being Nightmare Before Christmas. I can't believe how many times I watched. No, that's not a problem. Like I said, frankly, I consider that more a thing of me as the host of I should have recognized. And
I mean, it's my second favorite movie of all time. I feel like if I didn't answer that, there'd been some questions.
Yeah. No, just in that, just sort of the style of questions I answer, especially with a lot of these hypotheticals of, what direction would you want to see, or things that by the last one, the question was like halfway out already when it hit me. It was like, oh wait, I'm doing it again. I'm doing it.
You walked right into that.
But that for you, that like you said, you are very much yourself, and that your interests and your passions come through very, very clearly and truly in all the things that you do. And there were so many other interests that we didn't even get to that I meant to ask you about Resident Evil enemy lore. I made a whole point of saying, like, oh, I haven't talked about that with anyone. And then we just got sidetracked with all the other things. And
Sorry, Disney, we just went down the Disney rabbit hole.
Well, we got to discuss things like Fifth Element I didn't necessarily expect, and there were a lot of different angles. So it was very fun to just do that deep dive on Disney, certainly, amongst other things. But that for anyone who might be interested in seeing more of you and the things that you are passionate about, that you can find Ava here on Twitch and Twitter at Ava Lamp. I'm going to give you a shout out right there.
Thank you.
And that you have a couple other things coming up this week. Like you mentioned, you have a sex ed for Feet with Vil on Saturday, I believe it was?
Yep.
Yes.
Saturday.
And then Fuck If I Know Friday on Thursday. No, wait, that's not right.
On Friday. You were so close, yet so far. Close.
But again, thank you so much for being here. The actual last question is, who would you like us to raid?
Oh, do I get a pick?
Yes, guest gets to pick.
Oh my goodness.
So you can search around for a target. I'll take care of some last housekeeping.
Is online is the question.
That is the question. So thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. I know that we end up getting pretty deep into the conversations. I do still read chat, and I really appreciate you all taking time out to be here today, even if it was just for a bit. And thank you for the folks that are following me. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. All set there.
I sent you a name. They're doing ASMR, which is nice and cozy.
Good to know, yes. So we are actually going to see Podjkin. So hopefully you all had a good time. That if you are interested in shows like these, I do these about once a week. Can't promise a exact schedule because I try to schedule around the guests, but if you're interested, you can follow me here on Twitch and Twitter. It's just Vtuber Talk both places. So again, thank you, Ava, and congratulations on being the first guest to have a individual show on the new set.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yes, the pleasure was all mine. So for those of you in chat, be sure to let Podjkin know that Ava sent you all, that we are going to be raiding into them. So thank you once again for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.